Chapter 1077. No countering? And when Yunduan broached the subject, a collective desire for reconciliation emerged. A successful resolution would make for a remarkable story as well. However, in the midst of Yunduan's words, Qiao Hongxi remained silent, a stark indication of the Qiao family's attitude toward them. This made everyone hesitant to speak up. They couldn't fathom the Qiao family's irrational behavior. Yunduan and Miss Qiao had once been in the presence of the emperor, yet they were being treated in such a manner. Furthermore, Third Old Master Qiao, being Miss Qiao's own father, displayed a cold-hearted demeanor as well. Ah yes, the Qiao family must be afraid of the Tian family. That should be enough to settle the matter. It was all just a misunderstanding. The Tian family might suppress Yunduan and prevent him from making further advancements, but that would be the extent of it. They wouldn't target the Qiao family over this. The Qiao family was overestimating themselves. They didn't even want their daughter and son-in-law merely due to their uncertainty. They weren't a particularly admirable family. Consequently, everyone's perception of Qiao Hongxi underwent a significant change. Finally comprehending the situation, Qiao Hongxi grew both angry and anxious. Once again he found himself dumbfounded, feeling utterly helpless. Even if he realized that Yunduan had ulterior motives behind treating him to a meal, he could also surmise that Yunduan had hidden intentions in treating all the members of the Hanlin Academy. Yunduan was setting him up. Yet, what could be done in such a predicament? He had to confer with his own family and make a decision. But even if he acted independently, it was already too late to say anything further. Qiao Hongxi felt an overwhelming sense of annoyance. They silently cursed the couple, convinced that they were being set up. Qiao Hongxi didn't need to ponder much to realize that Yunduan's words had been overheard by everyone present. It was witnessed by all. Even if the Tian family didn't cause trouble for Yunduan in the future, they would never be able to bring him back. Qiao Hongxi grew increasingly annoyed. The more he looked at Yunduan, the more his annoyance intensified. He couldn't help but feel that they were all scheming against him, inwardly mocking him. But it wasn't their fault. If they were in the Qiao family's position, they might not have acted any differently. Feeling trapped in an uncomfortable situation, Qiao Hongxi concluded that he couldn't stay any longer. After a brief while, he excused himself, stating that he needed to leave. Yunduan exchanged a few parting words and bid him farewell. Inside, Yunduan chuckled. It was for the best that Qiao Hongxi departed. His departure indicated a sense of guilt. With him gone, they could freely discuss anything. Indeed, as soon as Qiao Hongxi left, the remaining individuals exchanged knowing glances, their expressions filled with understanding. Someone stepped forward to console Yunduan. Once one person spoke, the others followed suit, offering words of comfort to Yunduan. Yunduan sighed, graciously accepting their kind gestures. He even shared the mistreatment his wife had endured at the hands of Third Old Master and his wife in their hometown. A collective sigh echoed through the group. The Qiao family was truly despicable. No wonder they had severed ties with Miss Qiao. But Miss Qiao was fortunate to have Yunduan by her side. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1078. Trapped? Yunduan considered himself fortunate to have a concubine's daughter who possessed the skill to cure the emperor's beloved peony, and as a result, he received numerous rewards from the court. However, no one could guarantee that the emperor's peony would remain problem-free in the future. Consequently, no one dared to lay a hand on Miss Qiao, knowing the potential consequences. In any case, Yunduan's return home with his colleagues strengthened their bond of friendship. Upon hearing about the banquet, Xian couldn't help but laugh, finding it quite satisfying. That's truly gratifying. If the Qiao family ever approaches us again, we won't have to entertain them. Even if they have the audacity to shamelessly seek our help, we can openly refuse. Qiao Hongxi, however, had a completely different perspective. When he returned home, he hesitated for a moment before approaching his father to share the incident. Third Old Master was utterly flabbergasted upon hearing the news. What are you saying? Initially, he had wanted to scold his son, but he soon realized that he couldn't. Even if he had been present, he wouldn't have been able to defend himself against Yunduan's unexpected actions. Angrily, Qiao Hongxi exclaimed, "Dad, Yunduan is so disrespectful. He's your son-in-law, yet he doesn't show any regard for you." Third Old Master furrowed his brows. He didn't appreciate his son's words. While he hadn't believed it at first, he now couldn't find any excuse to continue deceiving himself. "Very well, you may go and rest," Third Old Master Qiao said, feeling disheartened. He sighed. "Hongxi, when you have free time, strive to work hard and read more books. You need to succeed in the future. I am relying on you for the remainder of my life." Third Old Master Qiao had anticipated that upon his return to the capital, he would secure a fifth-ranked officer position. However, to his dismay, his elder brother only managed to secure him a seventh-ranked position in the Ministry of Architecture, which held little prestige within the capital. Adding to his frustration, the Ministry of Architecture was one of the least esteemed governmental offices among the 6 ministries, offering minimal opportunities for advancement. Realizing this, Third Old Master felt a surge of anger, almost causing him to vomit blood at the thought of the exorbitant amount of money they had spent. But what was the use? When his wife coerced him into asking his elder brother for money, not only did he fail to retrieve a single tael of silver, but he was also scolded by his elder brother. His elder brother claimed to have invested so much effort and begged him for help, yet Third Old Master's request for money left him dissatisfied. It was a disheartening experience. To make matters worse, his mother somehow discovered the incident and reprimanded him for his lack of compassion. She focused solely on money and failed to acknowledge the efforts his elder brother had made on his behalf. Left with no choice, Third Old Master reluctantly consoled his mother, feeling annoyed by the situation. At his age, he realized that making progress in his own life was unlikely. He could only hope that his son would achieve success. Despite having a daughter and a son-in-law, the situation remained stagnant. Qiao Hongxi unconsciously clenched his fists and declared, "Dad, don't worry. I will undoubtedly rise to the top. Shao Yunduan is nothing. Just wait and see, he doesn't even deserve to shine my shoes." Third Old Master offered solace and nodded with a smile. "I know you have ambitious goals." The following day, Third Old Master discreetly hired a carriage and made his way to Qiao Xian and Shao Yunduan's home. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1079, Third Old Master? The events of the previous night had left Third Old Master restless, unable to sleep well. He couldn't fathom being manipulated in such a manner, especially considering how highly he regarded Shao Yunduan as a son-in-law. He had invested significant efforts in supporting Shao Yunduan and was genuinely concerned about his future. Thus, he couldn't understand why Shao Yunduan had displayed such cold-heartedness. Determined to get to the bottom of the situation, Third Old Master felt a surge of annoyance as he made his way to Qiao Xian and Shao Yunduan's residence. However, he hesitated to approach them openly, fearing the repercussions from the Tian family. Instead, he discreetly hired a carriage and arrived at the Shao family's home, hoping that Shao Yunduan had returned from the Hanlin Academy. Upon seeing him at the door, Xianxia, who recognized Third Old Master, was taken aback but didn't give him a hard time. In fact, he greeted him politely saying, "Old Master Qiao." He then invited Third Old Master inside and informed Fifth Young Master and Madam of his presence. As Third Old Master, who had previously held the position of County Magistrate Qiao, glanced around the yard, he noticed the standard 4-part architecture with well-maintained east and west wing rooms. In the middle stood the main room facing north and south, along with 3 wing rooms, creating a spacious and broad layout. The courtyard boasted a large patio with greenish-gray floor tiles, neatly arranged and adorned with sweet osmanthus, magnolia, crabapple and other flowers and trees. A path led to the backyard indicating its existence. The courtyard wasn't overly large but it wasn't small either. Third Old Master couldn't help but feel a tinge of envy. He inwardly sighed at their good fortune. Qiao Xian and Shao Yunduan, newcomers to the capital, managed to afford such a house, an impressive feat. Deep down, Third Old Master also believed that Qiao Xian had provided them with the money to purchase the house. He had initially anticipated that they would face humiliation and encounter obstacles at every turn, giving him the opportunity to lecture them. However, reality proved otherwise. This left him speechless. Qiao Xian and Shao Yunduan didn't find it unusual that Third Old Master Qiao had come to visit. They treated him as an ordinary guest, lacking the familial warmth he had hoped for. Qiao Xian no longer addressed him as father, but rather politely greeted him as Third Old Master Qiao. The same was true for Shao Yunduan. Third Old Master's heart ached. "Xian, Third Old Master Qiao, it doesn't seem appropriate for you to address my wife in that manner. After all, our families are no longer connected, and it's important that we maintain some dignity between us, Xiao Yunduan interjected calmly. Third Old Master couldn't bear it any longer. He accused Xiao Yunduan of ingratitude and heartlessness. With a smile, Xian inquired, "My husband achieved the rank of cultivated talent through his own abilities and received education from a highly esteemed teacher. Young Master Xie, a provincial champion and primus, has imparted his vast knowledge to him. What does that have to do with you, Third Old Master Qiao? Did you teach him? How can he be expected to feel grateful?" Xiao Yunduan added, "Third Old Master Qiao, if you wish to discuss this matter further, please leave. I don't owe you anything and neither does my wife. Madame Qiao tried to harm my wife, yet she's still alive and well, isn't she? Since you never treated my wife as your daughter, why don't you uphold your reputation? Are you attempting to be a benevolent father or is there something else you're aiming for? I don't need to explain myself to you. You know what you should do." Third Old Master Qiao had come to express his concern and demonstrate his affection, hoping that they would feel guilty and regard him highly. Instead he was met with mockery. Guilt and kindness were absent. He had misjudged them completely. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1080, Contract? If you insist on being so obstinate, let's see if you can continue to reside in the capital. Don't overestimate yourself. The Emperor is a noble man who doesn't even remember you. He doesn't believe he needs to protect you. We'll see if the Tian family will forgive you. Third Old Master retorted, his frustration evident. Qiao Xian let out an emotional sigh, wishing she had a cell phone at that moment. Suddenly she spoke up, "If we were to return to the Qiao family now, would you risk offending the Tian family for our sake?" Third Old Master stumbled over his words, unable to provide a satisfactory answer. Qiao Xian sneered, "No, you wouldn't, right? Then what are you doing here? How about writing a letter to sever our ties completely? That way, no matter what happens to the Tian family in the future, we won't hinder you in any way." In a hurry, Third Old Master left without saying another word. Qiao Xian felt a sense of triumph, thinking that she had come up with a brilliant idea. She considered including Third Old Master Qiao's name on the letter to make it perfect. She shared this idea with Xiao Yunduan, who chuckled, finding his wife's imagination amusing. However, Qiao Xian remained dissatisfied. "It would be perfect. This way the Qiao family will have no connection to us and we won't have any hold over them either." She couldn't help but let out a sigh. Deep down, she knew it wouldn't be easy to get her father to put something in writing. The behavior of the Qiao family disgusted her. They were using her father as a means to ensure that the Tian family wouldn't hold a grudge against Xiao Yunduan and that Xiao Yunduan would be accepted into the Qiao family. However, they would never admit to it. Third Old Master had the audacity to assert confidently, "We are your family, and we're supporting you for your own good." It sickened her. Xiao Yunduan nodded, "That's a good idea. They'll figure out a way to persuade Third Old Master Qiao to put it in writing." Qiao Xian was taken aback, finding it hard to believe. "Really?" Xiao Yunduan smiled, reassuring her. "You won't know until you give it a try." Qiao Xian's eyes lit up with excitement. She nodded eagerly. "Darling, your ideas never disappoint. They'll be eagerly waiting." With a smile and seeking some encouragement and rewards, Xiao Yunduan leaned closer and whispered something into Qiao Xian's ear, causing her to push him away playfully and run off. Xiao Yunduan pondered over his plan and soon passed on the information to Qiao Hongxi. Although Qiao Hongxi wasn't sure if it was true, he hoped it was. However, when he attempted to mock Xiao Yunduan, he was met with a sharp retort. Shocked and infuriated, he contemplated the situation for a while before deciding to seek his grandmother's counsel. Upon learning that the Tian family intended to cause trouble for Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, and that Xiao Yunduan was shamelessly dragging the Qiao family down with him, considering that Third Old Master Qiao wasn't his true father-in-law, Madame Lady Qiao grew increasingly annoyed. She repeatedly expressed her disapproval, labeling the couple as deceitful, shameless, and despicable. She believed that those hypocrites were oblivious to their own true nature. They had tricked everyone, leaving the Qiao family defenseless. Do they think they can use the Qiao family as a stepping stone? They're dreaming. The Qiao family isn't someone they can involve themselves with whenever they please. In that case, we should sever all ties completely. Madame Lady Qiao exclaimed, determined to sever any remaining connections. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1081. Bad Parents? Madam Lady Qiao reached a firm decision and approached Third Old Master Qiao, asking him to write a letter for Shao Yunduan and Qiao Xian to sign. This letter would officially sever any remaining ties between the Qiao family and the couple. Taken aback, Third Old Master tried to persuade his mother to reconsider. "Mom, there's no need to rush. Perhaps we can wait for a year or so." However, his arguments didn't sway Madam Lady Qiao. She believed that they couldn't afford to wait any longer, as the situation was pressing. Third Old Master, though not entirely convinced, had a feeling that Shao Yunduan's future held greater potential. Moreover, he realized that his daughter was more complex than he had previously thought. These realizations only intensified his displeasure towards Madame Qiao, leading him to distance himself from her. Madame Lady Qiao, unhappy with Third Old Master's response, argued that when the chips were down, waiting for over a year and a half was not a viable option. She recounted what Shao Yunduan had said to Qiao Hongxi, leaving Third Old Master dumbfounded. Panicking, he began to believe that Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian were capable of such actions. In light of this, breaking off ties seemed like the only choice they had. Thus, Third Old Master wrote down everything and visited the Shao family once again. Xiao Xian hadn't anticipated that he would present her with the letter. She felt both surprised and relieved, though she was cautious not to reveal too much. She signed the contract and carefully stored the evidence, then beamed with a bright smile. "Third Old Master Qiao, goodbye. Hopefully we will have nothing to do with each other." Third Old Master was still feeling quite annoyed. He could not help but ask, "Xian, just call me Mrs. Shao. You don't miss the Qiao family at all?" Xiao Xian was sneering inwardly. "Your daughter is gone, killed by your cold-heartedness. Even if she was alive, she might not have a good life today and you would not have asked such a thing. So hypocritical." "No, not at all. Why should I? After Concubine passed away, I lived a life worse than that of a maid. My birth mother was filled with malice and my father was cold and heartless. What makes you think I should stay?" Xiao Xian challenged, her voice filled with bitterness. Third Old Master felt deeply embarrassed as he tried to defend himself. "There are many bad parents in the world. Bad parents don't deserve to be called parents," Xiao Xian countered firmly. With nothing more to say, Third Old Master sighed dejectedly. "All right, I'll pretend that I never had a daughter like you. Take care of yourself." Xiao Xian smiled gratefully. "Thank you for letting me go. I hope that you and the Qiao family will honor your promise." Third Old Master felt a wave of dizziness, his anger simmering. He left in a fit of anger. Xiao Xian reread the paper and couldn't contain her joy. Her husband was so clever. She agreed to whatever he wanted to do. As the situation resolved and Shao Yunduan's time at the Hanlin Academy progressed smoothly, Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan began discussing the idea of purchasing a shop. Surprisingly, Shao Yunduan did not object. During her free time, Xiao Xian would accompany Shao Yunduan in their search. However, finding a suitable store in the capital proved to be challenging. The right size and location seemed elusive. Yet, after some time, they stumbled upon a plot of land measuring approximately 20 mu that was available for intermediate sale near a lake in the northern part of the city. Xiao Xian preferred the idea of purchasing land instead of a store, and she felt incredibly fortunate at their discovery. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1082. Land Buying? The plot of land measuring 20 mu was beyond the affordability of most large families. Even for ordinary families, it might be challenging to acquire. Naturally, there were others interested in purchasing the land, so Xiao Xian and Shao Yunduan knew they had to act swiftly. Without hesitation, Xiao Xian made the decision to buy the land. Land in the capital came at a high price. 1 mu of land for crop cultivation cost 20 liang, significantly more expensive than the fertile water fields found in the county. However, the soil in the northern region was fertile and flat, making it easy to cultivate. Xiao Xian was pleased with her choice. Obtaining 20 mu of land brought Xiao Xian great satisfaction. She playfully joked with Shao Yunduan that they now possessed both a house and land in the capital, envisioning themselves as the foundations of the imperial city in a few years' time. Xiao Xian planned to use the land to cultivate strawberries and potatoes, dedicating the remaining area to seasonal vegetables, watermelons, cantaloupes, melons, passion fruits and other fruits, each planted annually. The aim was self-sufficiency, a goal that excited her. Before the onset of cold weather, Xian decided to prepare the land so it would be ready for planting in the spring. First and foremost, the entire area needed proper fencing. The crops she intended to grow were valuable, and she couldn't allow anyone to spoil them. With its ample space, they could allocate half a mu for constructing additional houses. There would be a resting area, a tool shed, and a storage warehouse. They also dug a large underground cellar for storing harvested potatoes. The land would be divided into sections, ensuring there was space for pathways, deep plowing, sorting, and fine plowing in early spring, just after the Chunyu festival when planting could commence. Once the plan was finalized, Xianxia would be responsible for procuring materials and overseeing the construction process. Xianxia felt a newfound sense of motivation, grateful that he finally had something to do and was no longer bored every day. He recognized that if they behaved well, their future would be promising. Knowing that both masters valued loyalty, he understood that as long as he remained loyal to them, a bright future awaited. Being a clever individual, Xianxia didn't make decisions on his own when encountering people he didn't understand. Instead, he would relay the details to Qiao and seek her opinion. With this approach, everything proceeded smoothly. Around 11 or 12 days later, when Yunduan returned home, he discussed the Qiao family with Qiao. He mentioned that the Qiao family was in turmoil due to Qiao Wei's failed marriage. Her fiancé seemed to have gotten involved with Qiao, causing distress for Third Old Master and his wife. Qiao was taken aback by the news. She had a strong desire to gossip and kept prodding Yunduan for more details. She was curious to hear more about what was happening within the Qiao family. There was no gossip more intriguing than that from the Qiao family. She found solace in knowing that they were not leading a comfortable life. However, Yunduan had only heard this one piece of information, and he wasn't fully aware of the exact details. After all, he was occupied with his work at the Hanlin Academy and had limited time to delve into the Qiao family's gossip. Qiao felt slightly disappointed. Yet, she understood that her husband wasn't inclined to indulge in such matters. She decided to gather information herself. Qiao requested Xianxia to take a stroll around the Qiao family's vicinity, treating the servants there to tea, melon seeds, and engaging in casual conversations to gather some information. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1083, Show at the Qiao family? Xianxia, driven by his understanding of the situation, became deeply invested in gathering information. Having witnessed the animosity between his own masters and Madame Qiao, along with the Qiao family, he silently defended Qiao. He believed it was worthwhile to purchase snacks and melon seeds to share with everyone, allowing them to enjoy the spectacle unfolding at the Qiao family's expense. The news didn't create much of a stir in the upper-class society of the capital. It circulated, but people treated it as a joke, sharing a laugh after dinner. Such incidents were rare but not unheard of in the capital, where gossip thrived, including many other bizarre tales. Moreover, the Qiao family no longer held a prominent position among the influential and affluent families of the capital, so they didn't garner much attention. Additionally, Qiao Wei's fiancé's family was also not of notable status, further diminishing the significance of the event. Nevertheless, news of the incident had already spread throughout the Qiao family, allowing Xianxia to carry out his plans without difficulty. The situation was rather straightforward. During Madame Qiao's birthday banquet held at the Marquis of N's mansion, First Madam of the Qiao family, accompanied by Qiao Wei, Qiao Ko, Qiao Feng, and other female members of the family went to celebrate. However, Qiao Ko was led to the area where the male guests were congregating. There she encountered Qiao Wei's intoxicated fiancé and Ning Lu Feng, the youngest son of Marquis Qiao's cousin. Allegedly, Qiao Ko experienced great humiliation, prompting her to jump into the nearby lake. With many witnesses present and the lake being shallow, she couldn't meet her demise. However, the incident left her frightened and she lost consciousness after being rescued. Her fierce reaction evoked sympathy and pity from those who witnessed it, leading them to believe she had encountered significant trouble. In contrast, Qiao Wei's response to the situation was far from satisfactory. Pale and on the verge of fainting, she struggled to cope with the unfolding events. When Qiao Ko was pulled out of the water, her eyes closed, Qiao Wei kicked her and shouted, "Bitch! Bitch! Shame on you!" This sudden outburst startled everyone. As people regained their composure and tried to restrain Qiao Wei, she grew even more furious and continued to curse. The onlookers frowned in disgust, especially those from Marquis N's mansion. They were utterly dumbfounded and wore expressions of deep concern. What would happen if such a hot-tempered woman were to marry into their family? First Madame Qiao also felt a deep sense of embarrassment. She inwardly cursed both Qiao Ko and Qiao Wei with all her might. The third branch of the Qiao family was utterly disgraceful. The concubine's daughter behaved this way, and now the lineal daughter was following suit. A true noble lady would never throw such a tantrum. Was she a noble lady or a shrew? Was such behavior necessary? Couldn't she have simply cried? All she needed to do was cover her face and run away weeping loudly. She was the one who had been humiliated. Not to mention the humiliation brought upon the Qiao family. How infuriating! Upon hearing about the incident, third Madame Qiao was overcome with shock. She fainted on the spot. When she eventually regained consciousness, tears streamed down her face. She was a person of great pride. In the past, she wouldn't have shed tears in front of Auntie Ling and others. However, now that things were going poorly, she no longer cared about her reputation. Her tears continued to flow, and she made no effort to wipe them away. Clenching her teeth, she turned to Auntie Ling and said, "Go and teach Qiao Ko and Concubine do a lesson. Teach them a lesson. I want them dead. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1084, Payment? Third Madam did not believe that the incident was a mere accident or a coincidence. She was convinced that it was all part of Qiao Ko's plan. That despicable Qiao Ko had orchestrated Qiao Wei's ruined marriage, and Third Madam refused to accept such an outcome. In truth, Third Madam wasn't entirely wrong, but her focus was misplaced. Qiao Ko wasn't the sole mastermind behind this accident. Qiao Ko and Qiao Wei's fiancée Ning Lufang had conspired together. Third Madam would never have imagined that upon Qiao Ko's return to the capital, she would successfully captivate Ning Lufang during the few banquets they attended together. The two of them collaborated to devise this plan. Why did they choose this particular moment? Qiao Wei and her husband's wedding was scheduled after the new year. Qiao Wei was expected to accompany First Madame Qiao to celebrate Marquis Yan's birthday, thereby fostering a good relationship with the Marquis family. It was during this occasion that Qiao Wei's true nature would be exposed to the people of Marquis Mansion. Qiao Ko understood Qiao Wei well. She was certain that Qiao Wei would throw a tantrum. Upon witnessing this, the Marquis family would feel relieved and readily request a replacement bride without hesitation. Qiao Wei's behavior effectively ensured that she would be unable to marry into a reputable family in the capital. Qiao Ko's predictions had proven accurate. In a sudden realization, Third Madam of the Qiao family felt a surge of desolation, caring little about her own image. Auntie Ling could only offer a bitter smile. Third Miss had just seen a doctor, with Concubine Du taking care of her, while Old Master was present as well. What else could Auntie Ling do? 2 days later, Ning Lufang's mother and sister-in-law arrived at their doorstep, expressing their regret. It was necessary for them to handle the matter properly. As Qiao Ko and Ning Lufang had engaged in a physical relationship, it was decided that the wedding date would remain the same, and the Ning family would proceed with marrying Qiao Ko. Everyone in the Qiao family agreed to this arrangement. The Ning family was unaware that Qiao Ko was the daughter of a concubine, so they saw no reason to object. They were willing to marry anyone from the Qiao family. In light of Qiao Wei's disgraceful behavior, she was slapped by Third Old Master and placed under house arrest. Third Old Master even expressed his wish for Qiao Ko to be the one getting married instead. Soon enough, the birth dates were exchanged to accommodate the new arrangement. By the time Third Madame Qiao learned of these developments, the matter had already been settled. Third Old Master harbored intense resentment towards her. He spoke coldly. Second sister-in-law and sister-in-law will discuss Ko's marriage. You should focus on recovering and once you're well, discipline Wei properly. It's absolutely ridiculous. How have you raised your daughter all these years? The more Third Old Master dwelled on the situation, the more infuriated he became. He sneered, Xian and Ko were not raised by you, and I believe they are both good individuals. Wei, on the other hand, is a reflection of your parenting. She is no better than a street mongrel. How humiliating. Having finished his scathing remarks, Third Old Master departed without waiting for her response. Third Madam seethed with anger, clutching her chest as she watched Third Old Master leave. She emitted a stifled sound and coughed up a mouthful of blood, falling backward. Auntie Ling and Yuzan panicked, rushing to her side. Eventually, Third Madam regained consciousness. She tightly grasped Auntie Ling's sleeves, trembling as she panted. She complained, "Auntie, just listen to what they're saying. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1085. Decision? It's all their fault. It's his fault. He used those women to provoke me and turn them against me. Why should I treat them kindly? What? Third Madam cried out, her hands covering her face. Auntie Ling had dismissed Yuzan and the others, but she couldn't help feeling saddened. She wiped her eyes and said, "Madam, we are women and men can be quite unpredictable. You must gather yourself and think about what Elder Miss should do." Third Madam's face contorted with anger as she fiercely declared, "I will never forgive that woman. She's delusional if she thinks she can marry young Master Ning. Old Master blames me for not raising my daughter well, but what about Concubine Du? Is she doing a great job? How dare she steal her own sister's fiancé? Shameless." Auntie Ling hesitated before speaking, "But Madam Qiao, the marriage has already been settled, so, and so what?" Third Madam sneered. "I am the birth mother and I have a say in this marriage. I deeply regret it. How could I have allowed them to continue? I should have strangled them when they were young. No, I should have prevented their existence altogether. I deeply regret it, I deeply regret it." Third Madam was overwhelmed, her anger burning within her. She had regretted so many times before, yet with each passing instance her regret only grew stronger. Fate had been cruel to her. Auntie Ling couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Regret was the word Madame Qiao used most frequently. But what else could be expected? If she were in Madame Qiao's position, she too would be filled with regret. Of the two concubines' daughters, one had always been meek since childhood, while the other constantly sought the favor of Madame Qiao and Elder Miss, behaving worse than a servant. But these two daughters, whom Madame Qiao and Elder Miss regarded as no better than animals, had completely overturned their lives. A farmer who married into a farmer's family had risen to become a prominent scholar, an officer, and even caught the emperor's attention. She made significant contributions and received praise and rewards from the court. She was in the spotlight. The other daughter was even worse. She had stolen Elder Miss' marriage and caused Elder Miss to lose her composure in front of everyone, tarnishing her image and reputation. What would happen in the future? Those two incidents were not the end of it. Young Master, who had a promising future, had also been demoted, and it was the emperor himself who personally issued the demotion. Madame Qiao couldn't bear the thought of it. No one would dare to promote young Master without the emperor's approval. Absolutely no one. If Qiao Wei could marry into the Marquis of Annis' mansion, perhaps there would be a chance to rectify the situation. But if it were Qiao Ko who got married, Madame Qiao would be powerless to help young Master. It would be a humiliation. Madame's life was filled with misery. Auntie Ling felt a deep sorrow and sighed. However, there was nothing she could do but offer some futile words of consolation to Third Madame Qiao. Third Madame's expression kept shifting as she stared into the empty space before her, seemingly alternating between listening to Auntie Ling's words and drifting into a trance-like state. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1086. Lesson? Auntie, bring Concubine Du here. Third Madam suddenly issued the command. Taken aback, Auntie Ling nodded and left. However, to her dismay, Concubine Du was not by her side. Third Madam was incredibly sensitive. Her eyebrows furrowed and she snapped, "How dare that woman not show up?" Auntie Ling forced a smile, trying to pacify the situation. "Madam, please don't be angry. Third Miss, bah? That woman is not the Third Miss." "Yes, yes." Auntie Ling acquiesced, going along with Third Madam Qiao's words. "Concubine Du's daughter is still weak, and Concubine Du says she needs to take care of her. She will come to visit Madame Qiao later." "That woman!" Third Madam seethed. "How dare she? Who does she think she is? How dare she disobey my orders? Go and fetch her and bring Qiao Ko as well. Make it clear to them that I have Concubine Du's contract. Let her think twice before defying me. Just go." Auntie Ling found herself in a predicament. If she conveyed this message to Old Master, what would he think of Madame Qiao? Yes, Madame Qiao did have a contract with Concubine Du, but Third Miss was on the verge of getting married, and Madame Qiao had no intention of betraying Concubine Du that would only turn the Qiao family into a laughingstock. Old Master would never forgive Madame Qiao. They would become strangers from this moment onward. However, Auntie Ling was also furious. She was angered by Concubine Dust's arrogance and pettiness. Third Miss had stolen Elder Miss' wedding, and now she had become so conceited that she defied Madame Qiao's orders and requests. She deserved to learn a lesson. Auntie Ling nodded and approached Concubine Du this time. Auntie Ling requested a private conversation on the porch. Reluctantly, Concubine Du followed, knowing that Auntie Ling's tone was far from pleasant. On the corridor outside the room, Auntie Ling fixed her gaze on Concubine Du and spoke with a cold tone. Don't forget that Madame Qiao still holds the contract with you. You know what Madame Qiao is capable of when she's angered. If Third Miss enters her husband's household with a sold concubine, her days won't be easy, will they? Concubine Dust's face drained of color, her voice trembling as she replied, Third Miss was also set up. How can Madame Qiao treat her this way? I haven't done anything wrong. Old Master would never allow this. Auntie Ling snorted in response. Do you think Old Master can control Madame Qiao? Madame Qiao possesses the contract. You are merely a concubine. Who are you to defy her? Are you feeling guilty because you know you've done something wrong? Concubine Dust's eyelids twitched, overcome with despair and sorrow. She knew it. She knew it. Regardless of the circumstances, it was an undeniable fact that Third Miss had disrupted Elder Miss' engagement. Madame Qiao wouldn't let her off the hook. She was determined not to spare her. But if not for Old Master's grounding, even Elder Miss wouldn't have let her off the hook. What was she going to do in the future? It's my fault. I've been too concerned. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1087. Innocence? I was concerned that something might happen to Third Miss, so I didn't dare to leave or show any disrespect to Madame Qiao. I will go with Auntie to see Madame Qiao now. Concubine Dust's voice quivered as she spoke. Auntie Ling cast a disdainful glance at her and snorted. Then let's go. It seemed that some people were naturally inclined towards making things difficult. Concubine Dust's lips quivered, but she didn't dare utter another word. She nodded and followed Auntie Ling inside the room. Xiao Ko closed her eyes and remained silent. She didn't want to stir up any trouble. She could confide in her father about the situation, but she chose not to. She knew her birth mother too well. Her relentless nature would drive her to do anything to provoke her. Concubine Xiao had always loved her the most, and she wouldn't blame Xiao Ko even if she were mistreated by her birth mother. Furthermore, she knew her birth mother would only torment her and not take any serious action. Filled with fury at the sight of Concubine Dust's gaze, Third Madame grabbed the teacup next to her and hurled it at Concubine Dust's forehead. Concubine Du dared not dodge, feeling a sharp pain on her forehead as it turned red and swollen. The teacup crashed to the ground, shattering into pieces. You shameless bitch. How dare you do such a thing? Kneel down, you bitch. Third Madame Qiao unleashed her wrath, relentlessly cursing Concubine Du and Xiao Ko, piercing through Concubine Dust's heart and causing her to bleed. Concubine Dust's eyes turned red and she trembled, unable to move or shed a tear. Throughout all these years, she had been ingratiating herself with Third Madame Qiao, and though she was a concubine, she hadn't experienced such harsh curses before. She could no longer endure it. Filled with rage, anger, and humiliation, Concubine Du was on the verge of fainting after enduring Third Madame Qiao's curses. Auntie Ling was taken aback, but Third Madame Qiao sneered. That pretentious bitch is always putting on a show. Just ignore her and wait until she wakes up. Once she's awake, tell her to continue kneeling. Concubine Du regained consciousness in the cold of the night, only to find herself still in the same position. Yuzan approached her and ordered her to kneel properly, nearly causing her to faint once again. Throughout the entire night, Concubine Du remained on her knees in front of Third Madame Qiao's bed. The next morning, Third Madame finally released her and instructed her to attend to her after lunch. Concubine Du felt a bitter sense of foreboding in her heart. She knew her nightmare had just begun, yet she was powerless to do anything about it. What good would it do if she told Old Master about this? Regardless of the circumstances, it was an undeniable fact that Elder Miss' marriage had been usurped by Xiao Ko. Old Master would never defy Third Madame Qiao for her sake. Moreover, what if Third Madame took her anger out on Ko? There were countless ways for birth mothers to control their concubine-born daughters. In reality, Concubine Du was naively hopeful. Third Madame Qiao had no intention of letting Xiao Ko off the hook. The moment Concubine Du left, Third Madam called upon Auntie Ling to help her dress and prepare for going out. She declared that she was fine, sneering at Auntie Ling's concern for her health. She had yet to deal with that wretched woman, and she wouldn't meet her demise now. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1088. Engagement breaking off. That unfortunate event left Auntie Ling feeling powerless to dissuade Third Madam Qiao any further, so she reluctantly obeyed the order. Third Madam Qiao, elegantly dressed, consumed a bowl of red date, snow fungus and lotus seed soup before venturing out with Auntie Ling and Yuzan. Their destination was the Ning family residence. Her purpose there was to call off the engagement with the Ning family. Since the Ning family would no longer be her future in-laws, there was no need for formalities. After some casual conversation, Third Madam Qiao explained her intention to retrieve the birth date note. Unbeknownst to her, Third Old Master had entrusted the task of arranging Qiao Ko's marriage to the two sister-in-laws due to her illness. Had she been aware of this, she would never have agreed to the engagement. She had already made a promise to someone else regarding Qiao Ko's marriage, and they were about to exchange birth date notes. It would be improper for one daughter to make promises to two families simultaneously. She expressed deep regret for the situation. Furthermore, Qiao Ko, being the daughter of a concubine, received limited education from her mother at a young age. She lacked knowledge of zither, chess, calligraphy, painting and household management. Her social skills were lacking, and she felt unworthy of young Master Ning. Third Madam Ning's expression turned grim. After exchanging a few polite words, she promptly returned Qiao Ko's birth date note to Third Madam Qiao without hesitation. Upon learning of this development, Ning Lufang grew irritated. He professed his sincere affection for Qiao Ko and pleaded with his mother to allow the marriage. Third Madam Ning snapped, "It's impossible. If it weren't for the unfortunate incident, we would still need to explain ourselves to the Qiao family. Do you think I would willingly accept a concubine's daughter as my daughter-in-law? Her biological mother herself requested the return of the birth date note, and I can't wait to comply. Her biological mother stated that she is useless, and if we were to proceed with the marriage, we would become a laughingstock." The idea of the Ning family marrying a concubine's daughter, openly criticized by her biological mother, was utterly humiliating. Ning Lufang was left speechless. He had developed genuine feelings for Qiao Ko, but he was unwilling to sever ties with his family over her. Alternatively, he could simply let the matter go. Ultimately, he prioritized maintaining his reputation. Third Madam Qiao informed her two sister-in-laws about the situation with the birth date notes, instructing them to cease their efforts. She then tasked Auntie Ling with conveying the news to Third Old Master, Qiao Ko and Concubine Du. Qiao Ko and Concubine Du were taken aback by Third Madam Qiao's actions. Their hearts sank with despair. Enraged, Third Old Master stormed up to Third Madam Qiao and slapped her across the face. Pointing a trembling finger at her, he uttered not a single word. His anger was so overwhelming that he couldn't even muster a curse. Remaining composed, Third Madam Qiao sneered. Wei has suffered greatly, yet Old Master does nothing to console or defend her. Instead he confines her and blames me. That wretched Qiao Ko stole Wei's fiancé. Old Master, do you really think I will fulfill her desires? Dream on. You're being unreasonable. Ko is also a victim. She is innocent. How can you blame her? Such claims are nothing but foolish lies. I won't believe a word of it. If you don't believe me, then show me the evidence and I will believe you. And even if they provide evidence, will the marriage still be for Wei? Unable to find words, Third Old Master glared at Third Madam Qiao. His love for her was shattered. That woman was his wife. She was his beloved wife. He had once been overwhelmed with emotions and considered himself fortunate to be married to such a virtuous woman. She had helped him resolve numerous troubles and spared him countless headaches in the province. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1089. Shock. Unexpectedly, his wife had revealed such a side of her character. She had caused chaos within the entire family. He felt utterly humiliated. Even her own mother, elder brother, and second brother were greatly displeased because the Qiao family had become implicated in the situation. Third Old Master was consumed by annoyance. However, what was the use of beating Third Madam to death? Their priority now was to handle the problem smoothly. He stormed off angrily, stomping his feet as he departed. Consequently, they also imposed a punishment on third Madame Qiao by confining her. This was the information that Xianxia had heard. I heard that the Qiao family is in complete disarray right now. Third Old Master is still considering handing over the birth date note to the Ning family. Do you think they will accept it? Xianxia asked. Qiao Xian shook her head, smiling. Normal people wouldn't. The Ning family is in a difficult situation, and Qiao Wei's fiancé happens to be a cousin of Marquis Yan, a family with some reputation. It has become a laughingstock, and they are trying to avoid further embarrassment. They will never accept the invitation again. Xianxia chuckled. You're absolutely right. Qiao Xian instructed Xianxia to continue with her work, but she herself intended to keep an eye on the developments within the Qiao family. It was bound to be quite a spectacle. It was a marvelous spectacle, a form of revenge for everything that had happened. It left people eagerly anticipating more. It was the kind of drama that made them crave an extra few bowls of rice. As Qiao Xian had predicted, first Madame Qiao and second Madame Qiao visited the Ning family, but the Ning family declined to accept any further birth date notes. Marriage was a serious matter. The lineal mother had taken back the birth date notes and made promises to someone else. Yet 2 days later someone arrived claiming that it had all been a misunderstanding. Were they playing with him? The Qiao family found themselves at a loss when the Ning family rejected their advances. Madame Lady Qiao relentlessly scolded her daughter-in-law, accusing her of not caring about her actions and turning the Qiao family into a laughingstock. Third Old Master was consumed by anxiety as well. However, Qiao Ko suddenly delivered shocking news to Third Old Master and Madame Yuejing through Concubine Du. She was pregnant, and the child belonged to the young master of the Ning family. It was a complete bombshell. This meant that Qiao Ko and Ning Lufang had been engaged in a clandestine affair behind Qiao Wei's back. The accident between Qiao Ko and Ning Lufang that had occurred recently, as well as Qiao Ko's subsequent setup, were all staged. They had conspired together to be with each other. First Madame Qiao and second Madame Qiao were left dumbfounded, while Madame Lady Qiao erupted in anger. You are nothing but a concubine's daughter. How dare you engage in such shameless behavior? Third Old Master flushed with embarrassment, feeling the urge to bury himself in the ground. He could no longer blame Third Madame Qiao. Mother, please, we need to find a solution to this problem. Madame Lady Qiao pointed at him. And where have you been all these years? Your family is now in such a scandalous state and everyone is worried. Third Old Master hung his head low, listening to the scolding. Reluctantly, Madame Lady Qiao had no choice but to visit the Ning family and personally meet Third Madame Ning. She approached the situation with a ruthless demeanor, employing both persuasion and coercion. She argued that it took two to tango and both children were at fault. However, Qiao Ko was already young Master Ning's woman and she was carrying his child. If the Ning family refused to accept her into their family, it would bring unbearable humiliation upon the Qiao family. Qiao Ko, too, could not bear the shame and had even considered taking her own life at the gates of the Ning family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1090, Concubine. Upon hearing Madame Lady Qiao's words, Third Madame Ning felt as though she might faint. She couldn't bring herself to believe what she was hearing. She turned to her son and berated him, exclaiming, "You good for nothing." The Ning family had to take responsibility for their actions. If they didn't, news of her son impregnating his fiancée's sister would spread, and he would never be able to find a suitable marriage partner in the future. The family's reputation would be utterly ruined. However, everyone had their own loyalties to their respective families. Third Madame Ning cursed her son for his uselessness and held great disdain for Qiao Ko, considering her shameless. She was well aware that her son was meant to become Qiao Ko's brother-in-law, yet she had still seduced him. It was clear that she had ulterior motives. How could a woman like this involve her own family in such a mess and still have the audacity to desire becoming her daughter-in-law? It was utterly unreasonable. Third Madame Ning only agreed to accept Qiao Ko as a concubine. Most noble families wouldn't allow their sons to take concubines before marriage, but there was a reason behind that. After all, physical relationships needed to be accounted for. They discreetly passed through the door and first moved Qiao Ko to the ancestral temple. They would wait for the wife's approval before bringing her back home. This was a way to show respect to the wife. Third Madame Ning firmly rejected the idea of Qiao Ko becoming the wife, stating bluntly, "He is meant to be her brother-in-law and she is not a good person either. Why should the Ning family accept her? Either we compromise and let her be a concubine, or we'll fight to the bitter end. No one would benefit from this situation." Madame Lady Qiao had no interest in a concubine's daughter like Qiao Ko, whom she had no fondness for. She simply hoped to cover up the whole affair so that Qiao Feng and Qiao Li's marriage wouldn't be affected. Why did it matter if she was a concubine? She was just a shameless concubine's daughter, and being a concubine was already a great honor for her. Thus the matter was settled. Concubine Du let out a scream and fainted. Why did her daughter have to endure such a miserable life? She had experienced enough misery as a concubine herself. Her only hope in life was for her daughter to become the legal wife, so why did she have to become someone else's concubine? With this stain on her reputation even before the wedding, her future prospects would be bleak. The entire Ning family would not hold her in high regard. Qiao Ko was also shocked. She simply couldn't believe that Ning Lufeng, who had seemed so infatuated with her, would now make her a concubine. He wouldn't agree to her demand. She had thought she had complete control over him, that he loved her with all his heart. But what was happening now? Didn't he realize how wrong she would feel? Qiao Ko attempted to meet them privately. The Qiao family didn't care but the Ning family did. Third Madame Ning confined her youngest son to their home, forbidding him from leaving. As a result, Qiao Ko couldn't meet with anyone. In desperation, Qiao Ko resorted to desperate measures, like a drowning man clutching at a straw. She threatened the Qiao family, demanding that they negotiate with the Ning family. She refused to be a concubine and insisted on being the first wife. Otherwise, she claimed she would starve herself. Madame Lady Qiao sneered and ignored her. She believed that the Ning family didn't care about the life growing inside Qiao Ko's womb. They would consider it nothing more than a bastard child. Not eating? Madame Lady Qiao asked someone to hold her down and feed her soup, as long as she could be kept alive. She did not believe that Qiao Ko really wanted to die. A few days later, a sedan chair carried Qiao Ko to the Ning family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1091. Underestimation. Qiao Ko was denied any opportunity to meet with Ning Lufeng while under house arrest at the Ning family's residence. The following day they were forcefully escorted onto a wagon and sent to an abbey located outside of town. Upon arriving at the abbey, she was immediately presented with a bowl of abortion soup. Third Madame Ning had already shown some leniency by allowing her to become a concubine in the family. She had no intention of letting Qiao Ko bear the family's first child. As Third Madame Ning already had 3 sons, with the eldest and second sons having children of their own, she had no interest in the child growing inside Qiao Ko's belly. Qiao Ko screamed and struggled, but she was powerless to change her own fate. Her child was lost and she had nothing left to hold on to. Lying on a dilapidated bed, she resembled a lifeless puppet, unable to even move her gaze. Despite being at the age of blossoming youth, her heart was now dead. If the Ning family's servants were to tell her that she would never return to the mansion, she wouldn't doubt it for a moment. Regret washed over her. She had underestimated the methods of her biological mother. She had also underestimated Qiao Xian's lineal mother, witnessing how Qiao Xian defied her authority and yet remained unscathed. But she had never anticipated that she would end up in this predicament. She was meant to be Qiao Wei's biological mother, destined to be under her control. Even though she had tried her best to steal Qiao Wei's marriage, she failed to hold on to it and now found herself in this pitiable state. She simply couldn't accept it. After Qiao Ko left the pavilion, Concubine Du pleaded with Third Old Master Qiao, expressing her desire to become a nun. She was going to become a nun at the nunnery. Annoyed, Third Old Master snapped at her. Was she here causing the trouble only? Madame Lady Qiao sneered. She asked someone to pass on the message to Concubine Du. If she wanted to become a monk, she could just stay indoors, eat vegetarian food every day and pray to Buddha. But she was not going to a nunnery. Everyone knew that she could move about freely in the nunnery. Then what was she going to do? Concubine Du was shocked and scared when Madame Lady Qiao revealed her secret. But she did not dare to think about anything else. She was thinking that she was never going to see Qiao Ko ever again. Disheartened, she decided to stay away from the world. Third Madame felt so glad. That was how bitches should end up. How dare she set up her daughter? Did she think that she was dead? But Qiao Wei's marriage was ruined and her image was ruined. What should she do? Third Madam still had a headache. Qiao Wei felt the same. She was furious and confused about the future, though she felt happy about it. She had always believed that she was going to be able to marry the Duke's mansion, because Qiao Ko and Qiao Xian would never be able to match up to her. But suddenly everything was gone. She was not young anymore. What should she do? Third Madam had no idea what was going on either. So she consoled Qiao Wei. She was going to find a way, and after the new year, everything would get better. The gossip from the Qiao family were so shocking. Qiao Xian listened coldly, showing no intention of getting involved. She did not think that Qiao Ko was worth pitying. She had no choice but to bear the consequences, when she did more than what she was capable of. For example, Qiao Ko would not sympathize with her if she ended up like this. She would not help her either. Qiao Ko was a person who liked to take pleasure in others' misfortune. The more unlucky she was, the more proud she felt. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1092, Not Borrowing? Qiao Xian was very curious about how she got those feelings. But she knew. That was what Qiao Ko was going to be like. She was already being very kind without adding fuel to the fire. When the gossip came to the end, the 20 mu of land in the north of the city was sorted out. The bricks were all surrounded by a wall more than 2 meters high. They opened 2 doors in front and behind. When they went in through the front door, they saw a flat land paved with green bricks. There were 3 small houses resting on the flat land. On the other side was the storeroom and tool room. There was a huge cellar under the storeroom and tool room. Several roads crisscrossed through the vast expanse of land, dividing it into multiple sections. A canal had been specially constructed to facilitate irrigation by drawing water from outside sources. Qiao Xian's space differed from the outside world. Every crop had been planted and grown in halves, allowing the potatoes that were planted earlier to be ready for harvest. Once harvested, new potatoes could be planted, resulting in another batch to be harvested the following spring. As Qiao Xian contemplated, she realized that by following this approach, they could plant over 10 mu of potatoes here next year. The land would expand significantly in the coming year, providing an opportunity to share some with Lu Min and Gu Zhiyou. Additionally, there were strawberries. Qiao Xian had planted them both in the backyard and the space, with the ones in the space growing luxuriantly. The vines held onto the elderly plants and produced numerous separate offshoots. While the plants in the backyard didn't fare as well as those in the space, they displayed remarkable strength and vitality with the aid of Qiao Xian's superpower, sprouting several branches. Qiao Xian diligently strengthened and planted each individual branch. A few of them had already begun blooming, bearing small white flowers and budding fruits. Qiao Xian pondered whether the strawberries could survive the winter in the open air of the capital city under the protection of her superpower. If successful, it would simplify matters significantly. In the coming year, they could transplant some from the backyard and obtain seedlings from the space. Planting them in the northern part of the city would allow the branches to thrive. Within a span of 2 months, cultivating 2 or 3 mu of strawberries shouldn't pose a major challenge. They decided to keep the strawberries for themselves. Potatoes held great value, and if her husband offered them to the imperial court, the Tian family would lose any chance of controlling them again. That would surely irritate them. Qiao Xian even contemplated starting a beekeeping endeavor in this place. It seemed quite straightforward. Next year, they could venture into the suburban mountains and use their superpower to locate and collect a wild bee colony. Piece of cake. As the day grew late, the weather turned colder. Qiao Xian, Li Qiao, and Li Xia strolled down the street and purchased some trendy garments to have them tailored at a local store. Since she lacked expertise in handicrafts and her own creations couldn't compare to professional work, she didn't mind spending a little extra money to have skilled artisans handle the customization. Qiao Xian found it peculiar that some wives of Shao Yunduan's colleagues from the Hanlin Academy approached her for loans. However, she didn't find it entirely surprising. The Hanlin Academy had financial difficulties, and the government office wouldn't provide them with ice or charcoal by year-end. To ensure a comfortable winter, they had to work hard. Having their own residence in the capital and receiving numerous gifts from the emperor, queen, and concubines in the harem, it was only natural for people to seek financial assistance. Nevertheless, Qiao Xian had no intention of lending them money. Colleagues shouldn't involve money or profits between them, as it would complicate many matters. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1093, Not Opened. Also, it was not a loan. It was a gift. It would be a long time before those scholars returned the money. 10 years would not be enough. She could not rush them either because that would cause grudge. Only a fool would do something like this. Furthermore, if they lent money to one person, would the second person be willing to lend it back to them? Or the third or fourth person? Xian remained silent. They explained that they had already spent a considerable sum on paying tribute to their ancestors and wouldn't be home for long. Worried about the hardships their family might face, they had kept some money at home. However, they had recently purchased a plot of land measuring over 10 mu in the northern part of town and had run out of funds. If they had any, they would gladly lend it to them. While the emperor and the court had bestowed them with many valuable items, those items could be used for decoration and wear, but they couldn't be pawned. No one would dare make such a request. The visitor had no choice but to abandon the idea. Although a hint of dissatisfaction lingered, what did it matter? They weren't relatives or friends and they didn't owe them any favors. They had no obligation to lend them money. A sense of dejection washed over them, but the displeasure was merely temporary and would soon dissipate. Some individuals couldn't resist asking Xian where she had acquired the land. With a smile, she shared all the details, expressing her intention to cultivate various vegetables there next year, including greens, cabbages, radishes, winter melons, loofahs, chili peppers and eggplants, ensuring a supply of fresh produce. The prices of ingredients in the capital were exorbitant, and she felt a pang of distress every time she had to buy them. They decided it would be wise to purchase a piece of land and cultivate vegetables to save money. Additionally, they could raise chickens and ducks, benefiting from fresh eggs and occasionally slaughtering one to satisfy their cravings. Those who heard this proposition were left speechless. They pondered that if they hadn't purchased the land, they would have had money to lend. It would have amounted to 200 or 300 liang, right? With 200 or 300 liang, they could have bought vegetables for many years. It seemed excessive to spend so much just to grow vegetables and raise poultry. However, the money belonged to Xian and her husband, and they had the right to spend it as they pleased. No one would dare question their choices. That was how Xian dealt with people who frequently approached her for loans. She found it puzzling. Despite being new to the area and somewhat hesitant to turn them down, it shouldn't have attracted so many borrowers, right? Eventually, Xian realized that it was Madame Lin who had informed them about her wealth. The next day, Xian approached Madame Lin to borrow money for the upcoming new year, but her request was unsuccessful. Consequently, when someone arrived at their doorstep seeking a loan, Xian claimed she had no money and mentioned going to Madame Lin to borrow some. Word spread, and soon no one dared to request money from her. Xian sneered and informed Yunduan about the situation, warning him to be cautious of Madame Lin's husband and her associates, who were likely affiliated with the Tian family. Madame Lin couldn't contain her frustration. She had intended to manipulate Xian to gain favor with the Tian family but failed. Xian seemed to have realized that something was amiss. Miss Qiao was indeed quite clever. Madame Lin's attempt to manipulate Xian left her feeling a tinge of jealousy. Such was the nature of the world. The more cunning and manipulative one was, the more likely they were to succeed. It seemed that justice had little place in this world. In early October, Xian received an invitation from Miss Shi, the secondary concubine of the fourth prince's mansion. The invitation requested her presence at the yard located in the northern part of town to admire the vibrant red leaves and blooming chrysanthemums. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1094, Invitation? Xian understood that she should avoid getting involved with the prince's mansions. However, Yunduan had caught the emperor's attention, and she had played a part in it as well. It seemed logical for Miss Shi, the secondary concubine of the fourth prince, to extend an invitation to her. Yunduan was somewhat concerned and disapproved of Xian's decision. Despite his worries, Xian insisted on attending. Inwardly she sneered. She had actually planned to cause trouble for the fourth prince's mansion, but secondary concubine Shi had come to her on her own accord, so she saw no reason to hold back. While she possessed the ability to use her superpower to gather information about the fourth prince's mansion in the capital, the bustling city made it challenging to filter through the multitude of voices in her head. It was difficult to discern useful information. Moreover, she couldn't spend all her time spying on the fourth prince's mansion, nor could she predict when she would receive the information she sought. Thus, she temporarily abandoned this impractical idea. However, when it came to visiting the side yard and admiring the red leaves and flowers in the mountains, it was an entirely different matter. Qiao Xian delighted in such activities in the outskirts. Qiao Xian maintained that she possessed the skill of preserving peony flowers, speculating that the invitation from the fourth prince's secondary concubine was either an attempt to win her over or a subtle warning. As long as she wasn't foolish, she believed there wouldn't be any trouble. Hence, she attended the event without any mishap. Furthermore, it would be considered improper if they declined the invitation from the fourth prince's mansion, as they were invited guests. They had also visited the crown prince at the East Palace, and Qiao Xian had saved the emperor's peony through her actions in the East Palace. However, declining the invitation indicated their support for the crown prince, which was something Qiao Xian wished to avoid. Though she didn't dare voice it, Qiao Xian could discern that it wouldn't be the crown prince who would ascend to the throne. Since Shao Yunduan had always been unable to counter her, he requested that she wear the golden hairpin gifted by the queen and the jade given to them by Xie Jingrong. The Xie family held significant influence in the intermediate levels of the capital, particularly young Master Xie, who possessed remarkable talent. The emperor himself expressed regret at not participating in the spring examination. It was widely known that young Master Xie came from a prestigious family and possessed exceptional abilities. Given his aspirations, he could effortlessly attain a high-ranking position. No one would dare disrespect such an individual. Qiao Xian understood that she had no real use for these items, but she took them with her to reassure Shao Yunduan. In the suburbs and the mountains she would create her own world. It was a display of arrogance. Anyone who attempted to set her up or make things difficult for her would ultimately bring misfortune upon themselves. Early in the morning, after breakfast, Qiao Xian bid farewell to Shao Yunduan. Xianxia drove the rented wagon while Qiao Xian and Li Xiao boarded it together. She had no intention of bringing Xianxia and Li Xiao into the fourth prince's residence. Having too many people around wouldn't be ideal. Instead, they would keep the wagon company from the outside. Qiao Xian surmised that among the guests invited by secondary concubine Shi, she likely held the lowest status. It would have been ideal for her to arrive earlier. However, without a wagon of her own, it was understandable that she was a bit delayed. She arrived at the side yard at the appropriate time. It was not that they could not afford the wagon, but that was not necessary. The wagon needed to be maintained, and the horse needed to be taken care of and fed every day, and there was a place to lock it up, which was too troublesome. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1095. Old Friend? Qiao Xian tapped gently on the door, clutching the invitation in her hand. A eunuch greeted her with utmost politeness and ushered her inside. The prince's mansion boasted a side yard that befitted the grandeur of the royal family. The meticulous sutras and the work of skilled craftsmen exuded elegance, setting it apart from any other place. Despite the arrival of autumn, the garden remained vibrant, devoid of any signs of melancholy. Sweet osmanthus, autumn hibiscus, rhododendron, camellia, jasmine, and a variety of chrysanthemums adorned the autumnal landscape. Splashes of bright colors from the big red oranges and golden and yellow leaves delighted the eyes of onlookers. As they strolled towards the autumn house, the eunuch led Qiao Xian through the exquisite surroundings. Qiao Xian followed along with a smile, harboring no concerns about the eunuch's intentions. They served as her trusted eyes and ears, instilling a sense of fearlessness within her. However, Qiao Xian found herself unexpectedly encountering a familiar face in this place. Her heart skipped a beat as she laid eyes on a stunning woman, adorned with intricate makeup, a stylish hairstyle and embellished with gold hairpins and pearls. The lady donned a finely embroidered yellow palace dress, radiating an air of familiarity that Qiao Xian struggled to place. The beauty smiled warmly at her and addressed her as Mrs. Shao. Recognition flooded Qiao Xian's mind, and she struggled to maintain her composure. It was He Jiqing. The cousin from the Xie family who had once attempted to seduce Xie Jingrong with Tao Tao, now held the title of Madam in the fourth prince's mansion. The eunuch respectfully greeted He Jiqing, prompting Qiao Xian to bow in deference, saying, "Good day, Madam He." The fourth prince had a prince consort named Ms. Dou, as well as a secondary concubine Ms. Shi. He Jiqing had become one of the concubines. The eunuch displayed an evident reverence towards her, solidifying Qiao Xian's belief that the fourth prince held her in high regard. He Jiqing's smile widened as she clasped Xiao Xian's hands and spoke, "Mrs. Shao, your kindness knows no bounds. We are old friends, there's no need for such formality." Xiao Xian pondered silently to herself. The Xie family had proven to be remarkably resourceful. Without their influence, He Jiqing wouldn't have gained entry into the fourth prince's mansion so swiftly. However, during her time in the capital with Shao Yunduan, Xie Jingrong had kept her unaware of these developments. It became evident that something unpleasant had transpired between He Jiqing and the Xie family. Xiao Xian was cautious about getting too close to He Jiqing. She couldn't quite gauge the depths of He Jiqing's character, but she sensed a shrewdness about her. It was wiser to keep her distance from a cunning individual without a kind heart. Withdrawing her hands, Xiao Xian took a few steps back and maintained a composed expression. "Madam He, you must be jesting. I am not fortunate enough to be considered your old friend. You overestimate my importance. I am here at the Xie family's behest, and our paths have merely crossed by chance." Unsure of He Jiqing's sudden attempt at closeness, Xiao Xian decided to steer the conversation away from that topic. He Jiqing was taken aback. She hadn't anticipated Mrs. Shao's rejection of her goodwill. Concealing her irritation, the warmth faded from her expression, and she chuckled softly behind her handkerchief, adopting a coquettish tone. "Mrs. Shao is truly straightforward. We coincidentally bumped into each other in the capital, which is a rare occurrence. We should enjoy this opportunity as old friends and explore together." "Yes, Madame He," Xiao Xian replied, offering a polite smile and refraining from declining the invitation. Walking side by side, He Jiqing maintained her smile, commenting on the blossoming flowers and the splendid scenery. However, her composure seemed slightly rattled compared to before. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1096. Unwilling? Not long ago at the Xie family, He Jiqing had attempted to manipulate Tao Tao, only to be exposed by Xiao Xian. The very next day, Lady Qiao had promptly sent her back to the He family. He Jiqing harbored a sense of resentment towards Xiao Xian. Deep down, she believed that Xiao Xian must have divulged something to Xie Jingrong. How else could it be so coincidental that Xiao Xian encountered them on the first day, only to drive them away on the next? Since being sent away, she had realized that she and the Xie family cousins would never be together. However, upon witnessing the splendor of the Xie family, He Jiqing lost interest in pursuing connections with any other family. Instead, she resolved to venture into the capital and establish a close relationship with the fourth prince, leveraging the reputation of the Xie family and the items granted by Lady Qiao. She was even willing to become one of the fourth prince's concubines. Why not? The fourth prince, born to the emperor's favored honored Princess Mei, held a unique position. Although there was a crown prince in the Qin dynasty, his mother had already passed away. Despite being renowned for his talents, the emperor had never treated him favorably. According to He Jiqing, the more praise the crown prince received from the subjects, the more discomfort it caused the emperor. The future was unpredictable, and it was impossible to determine who would ultimately hold the greatest fortune. Who could say that it wouldn't be the fourth prince? He Jiqing envisioned herself as a revered figure, unwilling to settle for a peaceful life with a spouse from a respectable background. That simply wasn't acceptable to her. The fourth prince desired to suppress Shao Yunduan, and Xiao Xian possessed expertise in peonies. He Jiqing saw an opportunity to be of assistance in that regard. If Xiao Xian were to become aware of the current circumstances, perhaps she could let go of the grudges from the past. After all, present benefits held greater importance. However, if Xiao Xian remained unaware of the situation, it couldn't be blamed on He Jiqing. He Jiqing couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Without her skills, no one would have shown any interest in Xiao Xian. She was merely putting on airs. Soon they reached the autumn house. The wide flat land halfway up the mountain provided a breathtaking view. Positioned next to the mountainside, it offered a sweeping vista of more than half of the side yard. Maple trees were scattered throughout, their red leaves more vibrant than fire, creating a truly enchanting sight in the advanced stages of autumn. He Jiqing and Xiao Xian approached secondary concubine Shi, who greeted them with a warm smile and offered them seats. Curiosity gleamed in her eyes as she assessed Xiao Xian, eliciting a chuckle. "I've heard from Mother and Princess Consort about Madame Shao. They all praise your ability to know when to advance and when to retreat. Now, seeing you in person, it appears to be true." Over 10 madams and ladies were present as guests, hailing from noble families or holding prominent positions. Qiao Xian was a new face to them, inciting their curiosity. Their gazes unabashedly examined her. Qiao Xian didn't appreciate their direct and unscrupulous stares. However, this wasn't the first time she had faced such scrutiny, nor would it be the last. Having previously encountered the Princess Consort and the Empress, she harbored no fear. She offered a polite smile. "Your flattery honors me, Consort Xiao." Secondary Concubine sure beamed. "Madame Shao, please don't be so modest. You truly deserve the accolades." Madame Jean, the wife of the left assistant minister of the Ministry of Architecture, chimed in. "Indeed. We were just discussing Madame Shao and her profound knowledge of flowers. We can't hold a candle to Madame Shao." They all laughed. Another madam pointed at the pot of orchids on the advanced table and asked with a smile, "Madame Shao, take a look at it. Do you know what kind it is? What is the problem? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1097, Orchid? Qiao Xian was thinking inwardly, here they are. That was what they were curious about. But that was understandable. She would have been very curious too. That was a rare thing. Qiao Xian threw a look at the orchids. The long, slender green leaves exhibited a lush and moist appearance. They were gathered, with the tips gently drooping outward. Planted in an octagonal purple sand flower pot intricately carved with depictions of mountains, rivers, pine bamboos, it exuded an aura of antiquity and elegance. The flowers bloomed in a delicate shade of light green, evoking a fairy-like elegance. The emerald green sepals resembled peach petals, while the slender flowers mirrored the shape of peach petals. Hence, it earned the name Emerald Peach. Orchids held immense popularity during this era, and Qiao Xian had acquired comprehensive knowledge about them through the system within her spatial realm. Consequently, she recognized the orchid species immediately upon setting her eyes upon them. In the modern era, emerald peaches had long gone extinct, and Qiao Xian had no desire to encounter them at this moment. However, their presence indicated their remarkable value. Qiao Xian observed them attentively but refrained from divulging their exact classification. Emerald peaches were rare, and she was merely a Madame Hanlin hailing from a humble background. It was unlikely that she had encountered them before. She smiled warmly. "While I may not be able to identify the exact species, the orchids are thriving and exhibit no signs of distress. You can rest assured." However, the madam appeared unwilling to let the matter go. "Nevertheless, I still find these orchids rather lackluster. Our old master has a penchant for cultivating exquisite varieties such as green clouds, plain lotus, heavy snow, peach cheeks, 18 beauties and so forth. I can't help but feel that there is something amiss with this pot of emerald peaches. Madame Shao, perhaps you could examine them more closely?" Upon hearing Madame Qiao's remarks, the others began whispering amongst themselves, hinting at the possibility of something being awry with the orchids. Qiao Xian maintained her composed smile, fully aware of what was truly happening. If there is any issue with the orchids, it is simply because they have recently been relocated from the greenhouse and are still acclimating to their new environment. There are no other problems to be concerned about. The collective shock was palpable. Qiao Xian's explanation seemed absurd. It appeared as though Madame Shao was spouting nonsense. The expression on Madame Qiao's face changed abruptly. In a state of surprise, she blurted out, "How did you know?" Even secondary concubine sure was taken aback. It seemed that Qiao Xian's statement held truth. Emerald peaches held great significance to the fourth prince, and there were only 3 pots of them in the entire capital. Due to the presence of a hot spring in the vicinity of the side yard, a dedicated greenhouse had been constructed. As winter approached, these precious orchids had been relocated from the greenhouse to the intermediate side yard. In case of sudden weather fluctuations, the greenhouse could be used to maintain a suitable temperature, far superior to relying solely on charcoal fires. Those renowned orchids would lose their perfection if they were damaged, and orchid enthusiasts found such imperfections unacceptable. Secondary concubine Sure had placed the peach blossoms on display not only due to her personal fondness for their elegance but also as a means to showcase her favored position. A few days prior, there had been a sudden drop in temperature, prompting the relocation of the emerald peaches when the weather improved. How could Qiao Xian discern such details so easily? Unable to contain her curiosity, secondary concubine Sure inquired, "Madame Shao, how did you come to this realization?" The others were left dumbfounded, acknowledging the accuracy of Qiao Xian's observation. It became evident that Madame Shao possessed knowledge about the matter. After all, she was the second sister-in-law of secondary concubine Shi's family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1098, Mocking? Qiao Xian smiled serenely as she addressed the gathering. The temperature and humidity disparities between the greenhouse and its surroundings can easily affect orchids. These delicate flowers are highly sensitive to such changes, a fact that is quite evident. Everyone present. Indeed, it had not been an effortless journey for her. I understand, concurred secondary concubine Shi, nodding graciously. She turned to Madame Shao with a smile and added, Madame Shao possesses an unparalleled understanding of this subject. Only she can discern such subtleties. We can't claim to possess such discerning taste. Laughter echoed through the room as the ladies and madams joined in. Some couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy. They dubbed it sheer luck. In the past, no one paid attention to her. No one laughed at her, looked down on her, or belittled her for her humble beginnings, akin to a mere floral artisan tending to plants and flowers. But when she rescued the emperor's beloved peony, even the court florists were left speechless. Her clever maneuver earned her favor and countless accolades from the emperor and the empress. No one dared to look down on her anymore. No one dared to mock her. It would be tantamount to defying the entire court. Suddenly, a young lady blinked mischievously and inquired, her voice laced with a smile, "That's quite peculiar. The Qiao family doesn't seem to possess a natural aptitude for this profession. How did Madame Shao acquire such skills?" The young lady was a cousin of Tian Shanshan from the Tian family, accompanied by her mother. Officer Tian and his family had remained silent, and as relatives, they had no intention of making things difficult for Qiao Xian on this occasion, for the sake of appearances. However, the girl's inquisitiveness couldn't be faulted. Everyone present was well aware of the animosity between the Tian family, Shao Yunduan, and Qiao Xian. The whispers of Qiao Xian's association with the Qiao family spread throughout the room, igniting a spark of anticipation among the attendees. It was a universally known fact that people reveled in gossip and conflicts. If the Tian family engaged in a dispute with Madame Shao, it would undoubtedly be a captivating spectacle. Qiao Xian smiled in response. It's not surprising that others are unaware of this. I had a lot of leisure time at home, so I immersed myself in books and took up some personal gardening projects. Over time, I developed certain insights. It was the safest and most indisputable explanation. Even if others doubted her, what did it matter? The lady from the Tian family displayed a look of enlightenment. Ah, I see. Madame Shao, you possess an exceptional talent for self-learning, despite your young age. I assume you devoted a significant amount of time to this pursuit during your upbringing? It's quite a remarkable approach. She added playfully, seems like being overlooked at home can be a blessing in disguise. Who knows what skills one might acquire and how useful they may become in the future. With a jesting tone, she turned to Qiao Xian and continued, speaking of which, Madame Shao, you ought to express gratitude to your maternal figure. If it weren't for her, you might never have had the opportunity to flourish. Some couldn't help but burst into laughter, while others discreetly covered their mouths to stifle their amusement. Everyone grasped the underlying meaning behind Miss Tian's words. She was mocking Qiao Xian for being neglected and unloved by her mother, insinuating her lack of filial piety. According to her, third Madame Qiao's indifference had inadvertently contributed to Qiao Xian's success. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1099, Concealed? However, eventually she severed ties with the Qiao family, an act considered deeply unfilial. Qiao Xian responded, her voice calm yet resolute. Lady Tian, I believe there is a misunderstanding. Learning requires time, but talent is equally crucial. Take my husband for instance. His rise to the position of primus at such a young age is a testament to his dedication and natural aptitude. Similarly, my proficiency in tending to flowers and trees is not something that can be acquired solely through time. She emphasized the significance of talent over mere passage of time. She continued, recounting her past experiences. In the past, I used to sneak out and use the money my mother gave me to purchase books of this nature. Although the content was sparse, I would destroy them after reading, fearful that they might cause trouble. Nevertheless, I gleaned some knowledge. At that time it was merely for amusement. I never anticipated its practical value. Qiao Xian addressed the topic of gratitude. Regarding Miss Tian's suggestion to express gratitude to third Madame Qiao, that must surely be a jest. Parents should fulfill their roles as parents, wouldn't you agree? However, I am genuinely grateful to third Madame Qiao for breaking off my previous engagement and arranging my marriage to my husband. It is true that misfortunes and fortunes often shape our destinies. A bewildered silence fell upon the room as they exchanged uncertain glances. It was a foolproof plan. Thanks to the Tian family, many secrets regarding Shao Yunduan and Qiao Xian had been unearthed, including her previous betrothal, which was no longer a secret. When Qiao Xian married Shao Yunduan, he was merely a destitute talent from the countryside, while her former fiancé was an educated scholar groomed for the position of county magistrate. So, was third Madame Qiao truly acting in her best interests? It seemed she had been scheming to ruin Qiao Xian's life. To steal someone's marriage and shatter their entire existence. One could describe her lineal mother as treacherous as a snake. No one could fault a concubine's daughter for lacking respect towards such a lineal mother. Furthermore, Qiao Xian had married Shao Yunduan after accidentally falling into the water. But how could a girl fall into the water so easily? However, these individuals were not easily swayed. They were the esteemed madams of the distinguished noble families, well-versed in the ways of deceit and cunning. They believed that third Madame Qiao had orchestrated the incident, intending for the concubine's daughter to meet her demise in the water. But to everyone's surprise, Shao Yunduan had rescued her. No one dared to speak ill of third Madame Qiao. Tian Jingjing, a member of the Tian family, felt deeply humiliated by Qiao Xian's rebuttal, particularly the final sentence. What did it imply? It hinted that although the Tian family appeared prosperous and esteemed, there might be an underlying source of trouble. How dare they? Tian Jingjing sneered, unable to contain her frustration. So, Madame Shao, it seems you hold great dissatisfaction toward third Madame Qiao. What has she done to warrant such a decisive severance? Perhaps you'd care to enlighten everyone? Tian Jingjing's mother, Ms. Yuan, was taken aback. She shot her daughter a reproachful glance. Jingjing. Meanwhile, Qiao Xian had already begun staging her own performance. She sighed, shaking her head, and replied, "The past is in the past. What good does it serve to delve into old matters? Although we are estranged, I have no desire to dwell on the past any longer." Miss Tian is correct. As juniors, we should strive to be reasonable, adhere to decorum, and exhibit kindness. Let us leave certain things behind us. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1100, Good Luck. Qiao Xian's heavy sighs seemed to cast Tian Jingjing as the unreasonable one. Tian Jingjing struggled to find her words. Enough, Jingjing, Ms. Yuan interjected, unable to tolerate the situation any longer. She grasped her daughter's sleeves and shot her a warning glance. Tian Jingjing fell silent, turning away in anger. Ms. Yuan couldn't help but inwardly complain about her foolish daughter. Why was Tian Shanshan's business her concern? Tian Shanshan and her father couldn't exploit Qiao Xian and Shao Yunduan, so why was she so eager? She had a penchant for hanging around Tian Shanshan and putting blind trust in her. Her mother's advice held no sway compared to Tian Shanshan's influence. How exasperating. Though the spectacle had fallen short of their expectations, no one dared to stir up further trouble. They saw the situation clearly. The Tian family had already backed down, and no one else dared to provoke Madame Shao. Was there anyone with a grudge against her? Certainly not. Moreover, after alienating the Tian family to such an extent and causing concerns among the noble and prestigious families in the capital, Qiao Xian and Shao Yunduan had managed to turn the situation around and establish themselves firmly. It was undoubtedly a stroke of luck. Even if it was attributed to luck, it made them impressive and awe-inspiring. Those in the government offices, especially those in higher positions, feared opposing someone who appeared to be born with the fortune of the government. They possessed an inherent advantage that others couldn't envy. Going against them meant inviting misfortune upon oneself. It was still premature to make conclusive judgments, but what was the point? Consequently, the conversation shifted swiftly to other topics. Many madams even expressed their willingness to seek Qiao Xian's assistance should they encounter any issues with their prized flowers and trees at home. Qiao Xian responded with a smile and a nod. She harbored no concerns that the madams would treat her as a mere gardener, entrusting her with the care of ordinary flowers and trees. After all, she had tended to the emperor's most prized peony, and no one would dare to belittle her as a common florist. Such treatment would be utterly humiliating. No one would be so foolish. Even Qiao wouldn't stoop to that level. Soon, the conversation shifted to the latest trends in clothing, accessories, and makeup within the capital's elite circles. These noble ladies had been accustomed to a life of luxury since a young age, paying meticulous attention to their appearance and indulging in fine attire, fine dining, luxurious accommodations, and extravagant means of transportation. They were well versed in the art of dressing up. With ample leisure time on their hands, it was only natural for them to discuss these matters. Qiao Xian found herself genuinely intrigued. These were areas of expertise she had never delved into before. While she may not necessarily need such knowledge, there was no harm in listening and expanding her understanding. Thankfully, she possessed a good sense of style, ensuring she dressed well. Yet, upon reflection, if she were truly a concubine's daughter from a small town who had always been disregarded by her lineal mother, she would encounter numerous difficulties in such circles. The barriers within this social sphere were strict indeed. Those who didn't belong would always struggle to fit in. Qiao Xian recognized that she was not a part of their inner circle, despite the kind treatment she received from the madams. There was no way to gain true acceptance from them. Ultimately, it was Yunduan who held the key to her integration. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1101, Shao Yunduan. Qiao Xian remained unfazed by the outcome, recognizing that it hinged on Shao Yunduan's position and influence. However, she harbored no concern about it. To her surprise, the topic shifted to lipsticks. The lipsticks she had created had already gained considerable fame within the capital. For the time being, Shao had decided against selling the lipsticks in the capital. Instead, he had discussed with Qiao Xian the prospect of selling them in the province. The capital's market was vast, upscale, and intricate in terms of connections. It was best to avoid involvement in it for now. Although they could collaborate with the Xia family to alleviate some of the challenges, the Xia family was a massive clan, and Xia Jingrong's influence was limited. There was no guarantee that the Xia family wouldn't cause complications. Furthermore, the quantity of goods available was limited. Given the restricted production capacity, Qiao Xian couldn't obtain a substantial supply of lipsticks. Thus, she decided to keep this lucrative and secure venture to herself. She had no intention of sharing the lipstick formulas and craftsmanship with anyone else, aligning with Shao's opinion. Shao respected her boundaries and never probed into the lipstick formulas and craftsmanship, fostering Qiao Xian's eagerness to spend time with the Yuezhing family. Once she possessed the means to keep the secret hidden from everyone, she could establish a workshop in a suitable location. Yet again, it depended on Shao Yunduan. But she didn't feel rushed. Although Shao was only selling lipsticks within the province, they had gained considerable renown. His elder brother would bring some as gifts for his business partners during his travels, and some people within the province purchased them for their relatives and friends in other regions. Gradually, news of these lipsticks reached the intermediate circles within the capital. Shao possessed 10 limited editions, and out of those, 5 were acquired by noble ladies residing in the capital. Numerous ladies and madams were fervently inquiring about the purchasing process, and some even sought assistance from others to obtain them. Merchants based in the capital, particularly those specializing in rouge and cosmetics, attempted to study the strategies for selling these limited editions. However, their efforts were all in vain. Due to Yuzhang's remote location and the fact that the lipsticks posed no threat to the sales of lip gloss within a 500-meter radius of the capital, people either approached Shao for cooperation or resorted to empty threats of collaboration. Being situated in a secluded corner, the Yuezhing family enjoyed relative tranquility. The merchants who visited their doorstep were nowhere near the same league as the Yuezhing family, let alone capable of suppressing them. Shao had publicly declared that the production process was intricate, involving complex raw materials, and the products were strictly limited in quantity. This created the perception that the product was exceedingly rare and difficult to produce, causing many to step back. However, Qiao Xian was taken aback by her own mention in this context. The topic of lipsticks ignited great excitement among the madams, who indulged in comparing the variety of styles and colors they possessed. "I've heard that lipstick production is quite troublesome," resulting in limited availability. Such a pity? Yes, if only we could establish a store in the intermediate area, we wouldn't have to go through so much trouble to acquire them. At times we can't even manage to purchase them. There's an overwhelming demand here. In my opinion, it seems that the owner lacks business acumen. Why not consider opening a store in the capital? What's the point of worrying about the business? The owner is not unintelligent. They are capable of making profits, but opening multiple stores might not be feasible. I've heard that there is only one store in Yuzhang City, just one. Absolutely. Exactly. Otherwise there would have been additional stores by now. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1102, Not Lying? Oh yes, second madam said, turning towards Qiao Xian with a smile. Madam Shao hails from Yuzhang, doesn't she? You must be well informed about this, right? All eyes turned to Qiao Xian. Tian Jingjing sneered and cast a contemptuous glance at Qiao Xian, assuming that lipsticks were too expensive for her and she couldn't afford them. How could she possibly know? Lipsticks were being sold for 10 liang, and Yuezhing Shao had offered Qiao Xian 5 liang for each one. Qiao Xian was taken aback by the sudden question. She immediately faced a dilemma. She couldn't reveal the truth, but third Madam Qiao, Qiao Wei, and Qiao Ko knew that the lipsticks belonged to the Yuezhing family. If she spoke up now, it would create an uncomfortable situation between third Madam Qiao and the Yuezhing family, leading to embarrassment. Qiao Xian didn't want such an awkwardness to arise. She didn't want people to perceive her as a liar. Even if third Madam Qiao and the others didn't mention it or didn't have the opportunity to do so, secrets known by two individuals will inevitably become known to everyone sooner or later. But telling the truth wouldn't work either. What if they were compelled to cooperate? Even without resorting to forceful tactics, it would still bring trouble upon them. Qiao Xian felt a headache coming on. She couldn't lie and she couldn't tell the truth. She lowered her gaze, nodded and shyly replied, "Of course I know about lipsticks. I am aware of some aspects of the business with the Yuezhing family. Lipsticks require various ingredients like roses, Chinese roses, pomegranate flowers, cinnamon, red and blue flowers for dyeing." That was all she could disclose. Even third Madam Qiao had limited knowledge about lipsticks. She relied on the Yuezhing family, leading her to subconsciously believe that they were in charge of the business, not her. Even if they were about to speak, they wouldn't have much to say. As expected, everyone was taken aback and quickly grasped the situation. They had never anticipated that Qiao Xian had a connection to lipsticks. Knowing how to cultivate flowers and considering that lipsticks required flower dyes, it seemed logical for the Yuezhing family to collaborate with her. I never expected Madame Shao to possess such expertise. Indeed. Madame Shao is truly talented in many aspects. Wait a moment. They all grew increasingly curious. Qiao Xian began sharing some anecdotes and stories. They listened with emotional sighs, their perceptions of her shifting. How fortunate they were. She must have earned a substantial amount of money simply by supplying flowers. It explained why she could accompany Editor Shao to the capital. It also shed light on why Editor Shao would rather offend the Tian family than divorce her. So someone asked Qiao Xian if she could buy lipsticks from Yuzhang. The capital was very far away from Yuzhang, and no one would send their family to Yuzhang for no reason. Therefore, whenever there was a new grade, it could not be bought at all. They needed to spend a lot of efforts to buy some. Qiao Xian found herself in a predicament. She had mentioned that if anyone desired the lipsticks, they could seek her assistance. However, she wasn't certain if she could fulfill those requests. While in the capital, both she and Shao Yunduan had no means of maintaining direct contact with Yuzhang. Their only option was to send letters through a caravan. Everyone concurred, understanding that Qiao Xian lacked the assistance of servants capable of running errands over such a long distance. They were even less reliable than her own family. Thus the idea was quickly dismissed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1103, Forget It? They all engaged in lively conversation over tea and reveled in the picturesque surroundings, soon gathering for a delightful lunch. Someone mentioned their plan to visit Fayun Temple in the north to offer incense and invited Qiao Xian to join them. Qiao Xian agreed with a nod. One by one they departed for their destination. However, He Jiqing requested that Qiao Xian stay back and have a chat with her. She also extended an invitation for Qiao Xian to visit the fourth prince's mansion whenever she had the time. Qiao Xian politely nodded, inwardly determined not to accept the invitation. She had no idea what He Jiqing had in mind, but she knew it couldn't be anything good. However, she didn't want to revisit the time when she and Shao Yunduan had left the capital, facing the fourth prince's attempts to set them up. If the opportunity arose in the future, she could consider paying them a visit then. For now, she decided to let it go. Secondary concubine sure hadn't caused any trouble, and Qiao Xian had done nothing to provoke her either. Shao Yunduan felt relieved seeing her safe and sound. Approaching her, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief before saying, "Look, you've returned safely and unharmed. The fourth prince's estate must be magnificent, and the red leaves on the mountains must be stunning." Shao Yunduan sighed with relief and gently held her hands. "I will have a few days off soon. Let's go to the mountains and enjoy the beauty of the red leaves, all right?" Qiao Xian smiled and nodded. "That sounds like a plan." Absolutely. It was autumn in the capital and vibrant red leaves adorned the scenery. Shao Yunduan had intended to take her mountain climbing and admire the picturesque landscapes. After all, he didn't want his wife to feel lonely. With his busy schedule at Hanlin Academy, she had little to do to pass the time. Qiao Xian had been busy managing their properties at home. She had a lot on her plate and she could even whip up delicious meals. However, without many people to share them with and help with the tasting, she and Shao Yunduan felt that something was missing. Qiao Xian recounted her encounter with He Jiqing to Shao Yunduan. Seeing Shao Yunduan's puzzled expression, she couldn't help but chuckle. It dawned on her that Shao Yunduan had never met He Jiqing before and had no idea who she was. After some thought, Qiao Xian decided to share He Jiqing's identity and how she had been involved in the scheme against Tao Tao and herself. He Jiqing was, after all, the concubine of the fourth prince, and the fourth prince had a close relationship with the Tian family. Qiao Xian believed that Shao Yunduan should be aware of this, rather than being kept in the dark. Shao Yunduan furrowed his brow. That really happened? Qiao Xian sneered and glanced at him. This cousin of mine is nothing more than a cunning woman, and I have exposed her true nature. It's a matter of reputation and I don't want to dwell on it. I thought we would never cross paths again, so I decided to spill the beans. But now she's associated with the fourth prince. After such a long detour, they had encountered the situation once again. Shao Yunduan spoke, his tone serious. This woman is up to no good. Stay away from her as much as possible. She's just a concubine without an official title, and she won't hold it against you for not associating with her. Although the imperial family held great power, a prince's concubine did not possess enough influence to command the women of the court, especially when it came to someone as unique as Qiao Xian. Qiao Xian smiled. I will keep my distance from her and we will only meet at formal gatherings. However, she must have approached me for a reason. I fear the fourth prince is behind this and he is after you, my husband. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1104. Understanding? In the eyes of outsiders, Xiao Xian was perceived as someone who only knew how to care for flowers and trees. Moreover, she was already quite capable in the presence of the emperor, and the fourth prince wouldn't gain much from her. Peony flowers didn't fall ill all the time, and Xiao Xian's usefulness lay more in handling emergencies. The fourth prince didn't need to go through so much trouble. However, Shao Yunduan was different. He had achieved the title of champion among numerous intermediate masters due to his genuine talent. He was an honest man with high moral values and fearlessness in the face of power. Most importantly, he enjoyed the emperor's protection, which wasn't an easy feat. Furthermore, anyone from the Qiao family could easily discover the kind of family they were. It would become evident that Shao Yunduan must have employed some clever tactics to sever ties with the Qiao family. In the eyes of outsiders, Qiao Xian seemed disconnected from all of this. The fourth prince might have realized that it was the Qiao family who severed ties, but it was Shao Yunduan who successfully escaped the troubles associated with them. Given these factors, it was possible that the fourth prince had ulterior motives. Shao Yunduan's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected his wife to be so astute. My love, you're overthinking, Shao Yunduan reassured her, taking her hand and speaking calmly. I am merely a minor editor at Hanlin Academy, and am not worth the efforts of the fourth prince. Even if he harbors intentions, now is not the opportune time. Qiao Xian contemplated his words and agreed, deciding to put those thoughts aside. Instead, she focused on the idea of mountain climbing with him. The persimmons in the capital were especially sweet, the dates delightfully crunchy, and the grapes incredibly delicious. There was an abundance of these fruits during this time of year. They planned to climb mountains, purchase fresh fruits from local farmers, search for wild mushrooms and fungi, and enjoy picking wild fruits. It would be a splendid adventure. Shao Yunduan was well aware that the fourth prince had his eyes on him due to the Tian family incident. However, everything thus far had been a subtle test, nothing overt. He had maintained a low profile, carefully concealing key information to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. He had successfully evaded a few traps along the way. For now, things were progressing smoothly. Shao Yunduan exercised patience, knowing that he needed to wait for the right moment to approach the emperor and request to be released from his current position. He had already devised a solid excuse. He desired to become a local official and make tangible contributions to the well-being of the local populace. That was precisely what he yearned for, as it would allow him to escape the troubles of the capital. If they remained in the intermediate region of the capital, the Tian family would eventually catch up to them. Of course, he could seek the support of a patron and serve the crown prince or another prince, but he had no such intentions. Even though he hadn't been in the capital for long, he possessed enough clarity to perceive the situation for what it truly was, unswayed by the allure of fame and fortune. The emperor dedicated much of his time to cultivation and pill-making, resulting in only 5 or 6 imperial court meetings per month. Governmental affairs were seemingly managed by the crown prince, the princes, and the cabinet elders. However, things weren't as straightforward as they appeared. The crown prince's kind-heartedness often led to the involvement of various factions and forces before reaching a resolution in most governmental matters. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1105. The events of today seemed to benefit the fourth prince, while the third prince would strive to gain advantages in the next day's events. If there were any vacancies the day after tomorrow, another struggle would ensue. What about the crown prince? He was constantly burdened with the task of balancing conflicts among his brothers. His selflessness was admirable, but his efforts seemed futile when faced with his difficult siblings. It went without saying that the emperor's most trusted Taoist, Xianxia, had been discovered by honored Princess Mei and the fourth prince. Honored Princess Mei had always been favored, and the fourth prince possessed intelligence that endeared him to the emperor the most. The only one who could challenge the crown prince's authority was the fourth prince. The second prince was not to be underestimated either. His mother, Princess Concubine Virtue, was the niece of the late Empress Dowager and belonged to the powerful Sun family. The Sun family held military might, and the emperor and the Empress Dowager shared a close relationship, having grown up with Consort. Consequently, they held the second prince in high regard. As for the third prince, although his maternal family lacked grandeur and excitement, he was the son of the current Empress Qi. Besides the crown prince, he held the most honorable status. This advantage, coupled with his Khanate realm cultivation, naturally garnered him many followers. Empress Qi may not possess the same virtue as the former empress, but over the years she had amassed significant influence. It was evident to all that the emperor appointed Empress Qi as empress because her family lacked power or talent, ensuring that no one posed a threat to the crown prince. During that time, the emperor still held the crown prince in high regard. However, as time went on, things would inevitably become more complicated. The emperor had no intention of abolishing the crown prince, but at times he couldn't help but feel that something was amiss. No one knew what was truly on the emperor's mind. With so much unknown, imagination ran wild. Furthermore, the crown prince's kind-heartedness often led him to make concessions to gloss over issues, inadvertently empowering his younger brothers and fueling their arrogance. They looked down on him even more. Even Shao Yunduan, who had just arrived in the capital, couldn't help but worry for the crown prince. The crown prince's benevolence was admirable, but would he truly be able to withstand the challenges until the end? It wasn't that he lacked kindness, but rather the other princes failed to appreciate his kind gestures and instead took advantage of them. Shao Yunduan held a favorable impression of the crown prince. He was a friendly and benevolent man, but as the crown prince, he had no means to exert control over the others. Although the surface of the capital appeared calm, the tension beneath the facade was palpable. No one knew when the taut string would snap. Not wanting to offend anyone, Yunduan decided it was best to leave the capital. In fact, had it not been for the emperor's words at the banquet, he might have been forced out of the capital. Yunduan chose not to disclose this to Xian. It would only add to her troubles and it wasn't necessary. They still had time to devise a plan. 2 days later, the weather remained pleasant. During their break, Yunduan took Xian out for a walk. The red leaves in the fourth prince's courtyard were exquisite, but the mountains were adorned with a mesmerizing display of fiery red and golden colors, captivating their hearts even more. They picked an abundance of mushrooms in the mountains as well as persimmons and dates from the farmer's house at the foot of the mountain. They purchased eggs and pickles produced by the farmer's family, enjoying the afternoon until the sun began to set in the west, returning home with contentment. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1106. At Fayun Temple. The capital was a truly captivating place. Yunduan didn't stop Xian when she expressed her desire to visit the fourth prince's side yard and join the noble ladies in offering incense. He understood that his wife couldn't stay confined indoors, and they were currently unable to leave the capital. He shouldn't be overly anxious. He should trust her words. Xian had a sense of propriety and knew how to conduct herself. Fayun Temple, located in the northern part of the capital's suburbs, was one of the 8 renowned monasteries. Nestled in the Jade Mountain, it possessed an air of solemnity and grandeur. Waterfalls and natural springs adorned its surroundings, with peculiar peaks and unique stones dotting the landscape. The scenery was especially captivating, particularly during the spring and autumn seasons. Every year, a continuous stream of pilgrims flocked to the monastery to offer incense and to admire the beauty of the back mountains. Xian, along with the wife of the censor, Madame Su, and several other young women, had come here for leisure rather than solely for offering incense. The back mountain of Fayun Temple boasted picturesque scenery, but the vegetarian fare served within the monastery itself was rather ordinary. On the other hand, there was a restaurant called Chiffon located at the foot of the mountain that served exceptional dishes, featuring various wild game from the countryside. The food was fresh and unexpectedly popular among the affluent visitors in the capital, leading to bustling business each day. Accompanied by Madame Su, Xian, and a few maids and elderly women, they embarked on their excursion. Xian had chosen not to bring Xiao or Qiao with her this time. They had reserved a private room at Chiffon before making their way towards Fayun Temple. As the temple was situated halfway up the mountain, it would be arduous for the noble ladies to climb all the way there. Since the wagons couldn't reach the temple directly, they opted to use litters instead and arrived at the temple after a half-hour journey. It wasn't a day of high religious significance, so there weren't many visitors present to offer incense. They entered the hall to pay their respects before listening to the sutras recited by the revered elderly master in the small courtyard. This marked Xian's first visit to Fayun Temple. After listening to the sutras recited by the master, they engaged in a discussion about karma over tea. However, Xian didn't particularly enjoy the topic and politely excused herself with a smile, venturing outside to explore the surroundings. When Xian and Xiao returned to the yard, Madame Su and the others were nowhere to be found. The young monks who remained behind respectfully joined their hands together and bowed, addressing Xian and the other female benefactors. Benefactor Qiao and esteemed guests, Madame Su and the others have already proceeded to the back mountains. I will wait here to accompany Benefactor Qiao and guide you there. Please, Benefactor Qiao. Xian nodded in acknowledgement and returned the greeting, responding politely, "Very well, thank you, Master." "No, Benefactor Qiao, please." "Please?" The young monk appeared unfazed by Xian's presence and led her serenely into the mountains. Xian harbored no concerns. She was immersed in the picturesque scenery and had no fear of being deceived by the noble ladies in the mountains. Curiosity flickered within her, wondering if they would engage in any distinctive activities compared to the locals. After all, they were in the capital. The scenery at the back of Fayun Temple's mountain lived up to its renowned reputation. Breathtaking peculiar peaks and unique stones greeted the eye, igniting a sense of wonder. The autumn mountains displayed a vibrant tapestry of colors, exuding beauty and charm. Streams meandered through the mountains, cascading in various sizes and forming picturesque waterfalls at several locations. The tranquil sounds of flowing water blended harmoniously with the stunning landscape. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1107, Cooperation. Entering the depths of the mountain, the scenery became vibrant, tranquil, and enchanting. The air felt noticeably fresher, infused with a gentle fragrance of wood that mingled with the crisp moisture in the atmosphere, rejuvenating the senses. Colorful and picturesque mountains stretched endlessly before Qiao's eyes. The renowned beauty of Fayun Temple's back mountains is truly well-deserved. Masters, cultivating in such a setting and being able to witness this scenery every day must contribute to your extraordinary aura. Xian exclaimed with a smile, withdrawing her gaze only to discover that the master who had guided her had vanished. The forest remained peaceful, filled with the melodic chirping of birds. The autumn season was in full swing, showcasing the stunning leaves that fluttered like butterflies in the wind. Xian found herself alone amidst the mountains. Numerous paths crisscrossed through the woods, and unexpectedly, a bend in the road revealed an empty stretch devoid of any presence. Yet Xian anticipated this turn of events. She even saw clearly that the noble ladies weren't truly immersed in the scenic beauty of the back mountains. Xian chuckled inwardly. These people were truly despicable. Since she had arrived, she had no intention of leaving. She intended to fully appreciate the breathtaking scenery. If she happened upon any delectable wild fruits, she could transplant the trees into her space. Perhaps she could even gather some mushrooms. See how cooperative she was. Xian harbored no suspicion that the young monk had deceived her all this while. She reveled in the scenery and maintained a cautious demeanor, utilizing her superpower to sense every blade of grass and tree within a range of 2,000 meters, remaining vigilant to her surroundings. To her surprise, amidst the stillness, Xian noticed the presence of a young boy, around the age of 13 or 14, lying in the bushes less than 300 meters away from her. The material of his attire was difficult to discern, but it bore a distinct texture that indicated it was no ordinary fabric. A white jade pendant with ginger tassels adorned his waist. His hair was neatly tied with a Yuuzhan, and his pale face showcased well-defined features, including thick eyebrows, a prominent nose, and exquisite facial contours. It was evident that he hailed from a noble family. Startled, Xian detected that he was merely unconscious but still breathing. Without hesitation, Xian hurried over to investigate. She wouldn't have approached if he hadn't been breathing, as she didn't wish to involve herself in any trouble. But since he was still alive, she couldn't simply leave him alone. If it were a dire situation, she could always escape. After pondering for a moment, she took out a handkerchief, folded the corners, and covered half of her face. The young man appeared to have lost consciousness due to an attack on his back, evident from the bump on the back of his head. Though he wasn't bleeding, his condition looked rather alarming. He furrowed his brow, displaying signs of discomfort. With his slender frame, he seemed delicate, prompting an instinctual sense of caution. Xian grasped his hands and channeled her superpower into his body, attempting to alleviate the bump on the back of his head. Before long, the young man blinked and his eyes fluttered open. Startled, he gazed at Xian, seemingly disoriented about his surroundings and what had transpired. Xian greeted him with a warm smile, observing his innocent expression. "You're awake now. Stand up." Xian, who had been crouched next to him, rose to her feet and took a couple of steps back. Internally she let out a sigh. There was a noticeable disparity between the countenance of an ordinary individual and that of someone with a developmental delay. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1108, Young Man. This young man possessed a clear vision, yet he appeared perplexed. Xian sensed an abnormality within his mind. It was a shame that he was so handsome. Despite not recognizing Xian, the young man displayed utmost compliance. Rubbing his eyes, he rose to his feet, his hands firmly planted on the ground. Xian pondered why he was alone in this place. Before she could inquire, the young man beamed at her and exclaimed, "Sister!" Xian was taken aback. Perplexed, the young man glanced around and queried, "Sister, who are you? Why am I here? What brings you to this place?" Xian chuckled. How could she possibly respond to that? The boy continued, "Sister, what happened to your face? Xian lowered her handkerchief, revealing a smile. I have a fear of insects, but I am all right now. I came here to admire the scenery. And you? What are you doing here all alone? Where is your family? Family? The young man smiled. My parents are at home and Dazhong and Tuan are playing with me. He looked around, puzzled. Where are Dazhong and Tuan? Dazhong, Tuan? He shouted loudly. Caught between laughter and tears, Xian realized he possessed enough intelligence to clear up the confusion. After she had healed him, he experienced no pain or discomfort, and he had even forgotten how he sustained his injury. Xian gently reminded him, when I discovered you, you were unconscious on the ground. I revived you. Do you recall how you lost consciousness? The young man's eyes widened in surprise as he spoke. I think I fell. My head was hurting, but now it doesn't hurt at all. You saved me? Thank you, sister. With a grateful smile, the young man expressed his appreciation to Xian. His joyous demeanor brought some relief to Xian and she smiled back. You're welcome. What's your name? Where do you live? I can accompany you home. The young man replied cheerfully, Okay. My name is Qini and I live in the capital. Xian sighed inwardly. I see, this was going to be quite challenging. The capital was vast, and she had no clue about his exact destination. It seemed she would have to stay with him a bit longer. If he disappeared, his family would surely come looking for him. Let's rest under that tree, she suggested. Okay. The young man nodded, wearing a bright smile. He was well-behaved and amiable. He followed Xian to the tree and took a seat. However, Xian couldn't sit still like a child for more than a couple of minutes. She started plucking flowers and grass, lying on the ground to observe grasshoppers and ants. The young man didn't mind. As long as he remained within her sight, she was content. She inwardly chided herself, acknowledging that if all children caused as little trouble as this one, taking care of them would be a breeze. But this child wasn't so easily managed. He returned after a while, his face, clothes and hands covered in mud and grass. He turned to Xian and said, Sister, I'm thirsty. I want to drink water. Xian, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1109. Warily sized up Xian. Let's go, it'll take you to wash your hands, Xian suggested. Yeah, that's all, the young man replied. Not far from their location, there was a stream with crystal clear water, allowing one to see the bottom. It was exceptionally clean. Xian guided him to wash his hands in the stream. She took out a handkerchief, wrung it out, and handed it to him to wipe his face. Then, when the young man wasn't paying attention, she discreetly retrieved a water bag from her belongings and passed it to him. Drink this. Thank you, sister. The young man displayed good manners as he graciously accepted the water bag, a silly smile adorning his face. He opened it slowly and began to gulp down the water. Although he drank without hesitation, his demeanor remained elegant and composed. A person's upbringing was deeply ingrained in their character, and it couldn't be easily concealed. Xian formed a favorable impression of him. She retrieved a bunch of jujubes from her belongings and handed them to him. Here, taste these jujubes. They are incredibly sweet. After returning home, they had planted jujube trees in her space, cutting off a branch full of fruits. The originally egg-sized fruit tree had now grown to the size of a fist. She hadn't plucked the dates from the tree yet, but they tasted much better than those found outside. Since arriving in the capital, she had also planted apple trees, pear trees, persimmons and grapes in her space. However, they hadn't borne fruit yet. Hopefully they would be ready by next year. Thank you, sister. The young man didn't inquire about the source of the dates but expressed his gratitude politely before happily indulging in them. His eyes gleamed with delight. These dates you gave me are incredibly sweet and delicious. Xian chuckled. Eat as many as you want. This young man was quite skilled in conversation. The two of them returned to the tree and settled down. As they ate, the young man and Xian grew more acquainted with each other. He continuously requested her to play with him. Feeling a bit overwhelmed, Xian had no interest in watching insects or picking flowers and grass. She suggested, how about plucking some grass? I can weave a grasshopper for you, all right? In the countryside, there wasn't much entertainment for children, but many people knew how to weave grasshoppers, dragonflies and other creations. She was particularly skilled at it, even teaching Qiao Xian how to weave straw hats and frogs in the past. The young man showed great enthusiasm, nodding eagerly as he went to gather the weeds. Lord Heir Son, we've been searching for you. Before the young man returned with the weeds, a group of people emerged from one of the nearby forest paths. One of the page boys spotted them and shouted, rushing towards them. Several guards followed closely behind. Lord Heir Son. Qiao Xian was taken aback and decided to stay where she was. This Lord Heir Son seemed to have a simple mind, so he should be fine. Lord Heir Son appeared delighted to see them and waved in their direction. Tuan, Uncle Jiang, you're here. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen you in so long, you had me worried. Tuan approached Lord Heir Son, anxiously examining him. Are you all right? Did you injure yourself? Do you feel any discomfort? I'm fine now, but this sister saved me. Lord Heir Son beamed, glancing at Qiao Xian. Tuan and Uncle Jiang warily observed Qiao Xian. Uncle Jiang took a step forward and expressed his gratitude, saying, How did you save Lord Heir Son? And why are you here alone? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:10. Understood. This Lord Heir Son was a simple-minded individual who could easily be deceived and manipulated. Uncle Jiang's questioning was not particularly polite, but Qiao Xian wasn't offended by it. She chose not to mention how Lord Heir Son had lost consciousness when he was injured. With a smile, she explained, A few ladies and I came to Fayun Temple to offer incense, but we got separated as we were exploring the temple. Later, a young gentleman informed me that the ladies were enjoying the scenery in the back mountain, so he led me here. However, halfway through, I suddenly realized that he had disappeared. It was at that moment that I discovered Lord Heir Son lying unconscious in the grass. I had just awakened him when you arrived. Uncle Jiang nodded. I see. He examined Qiao Xian and smiled. Madam Qiao, you seem to come from a prominent family. Why did you venture out without a servant? Qiao Xian replied, Officer, you have a keen eye. My husband is Primus Shao, serving as editor Shao at Hanlin Academy. We have 2 maids at home, but we had various matters to attend to today, so we didn't bring them along. Oh, so you're Madame Shao. Uncle Jiang exclaimed, surprised. He studied her and smiled. My apologies for the misunderstanding. He understood that Madame Shao wouldn't be easily deceived. After all, the core issue lay with the Tian family. Even if the Tian family didn't care, there would be no shortage of people who would take advantage of their vulnerability. They might be attempting to gain favor with the Tian family or simply trying to exploit their weakness. Since their arrival in the capital, Shao Xiao and Madame Shao had been in the spotlight. I am honored, Qiao Xian replied with a smile. Since you're all right, Lord Heir Son, I shall take my leave. She understood the situation. Whoever this young man was, he must come from a noble family to be addressed as Lord Heir Son. Seeing Uncle Jiang and the others so concerned about him, she deduced that they must hail from a powerful family. If Qiao Xian hadn't awakened the young man, she would have struggled to prove her innocence when discovered in this situation. However, given the young man's mental instability, he could easily be deceived. If someone were orchestrating this, it could ignite a dangerous situation. Qiao Xian didn't believe that Madame Su would dare to manipulate a Lord Heir Son. The Tian family, the 4th Prince's mansion or Hejiqing might be involved, but it always seemed to come back to them. Uncle Jiang expressed his gratitude, saying, This is our Lord Heir Son from Lord Omping Manor. Thank you for saving us, Madame Shao. We will surely express our gratitude in the future. Lord Omping Manor? Qiao Xian hadn't heard of it before, but being a Lord Manor meant it was a highly influential family. She smiled and replied, It was merely a coincidence, officer. You are being too kind with your words and we are unworthy of your gratitude. Uncle Jiang smiled and didn't say anything further. He returned to the mansion to report to the Lord and the Princess Consort of Lord Omping Manor. Lord Omping Manor would never owe anyone a favor. However, as Qin Yi, the Lord Heir Son of Lord Omping Manor, saw Qiao Xian preparing to leave, he tugged at her sleeves and exclaimed excitedly, Sister, where are you going? I want to go too. Tuan, concerned that Qiao Xian might laugh at his master, quickly pulled on his arm and reassured him, Lord Heir Son, what would you like to play? They'll play with you. Qiao Xian smiled. I'm going home. You should also return home. Don't wander alone. There are many unscrupulous people out there. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:11. Invitation? Unable to resist, Qiao Xian felt compelled to intervene. This young Lord Heir's son was pure and harmless, especially with his innocent and adorable clear eyes. He appeared delicate, beautiful, and fragile, evoking sympathy from those around him. The young heir nodded obediently and refused to let her leave. I want grasshoppers. He looked so pitiful. Qiao Xian sighed inwardly. Motivated by the situation, Tuan smiled and chimed in, Lord Heir's son, it's easy to find grasshoppers. They'll get them for you. But the heir didn't want that. I want my sisters. Qiao Xian's head throbbed. She turned to Uncle Jiang with a wry smile. I was just speaking with the young heir earlier, mentioning that we would weave grasshoppers for him, but before I could finish, you arrived. Tuan scratched his head, feeling uncertain. He didn't know how to weave grasshoppers. Uncle Jiang started to hesitate. Qiao Xian, as the wife of a court official, had her own county king and the princess consort of the prefecture who, for some reason, had been keeping a low profile. Strategist Shao was the emperor's favorite, and if they kept his wife solely for the purpose of making a grasshopper for the young heir, it would be impolite and would expose their intentions. However, the young master was innocent, and the prefecture lord and the princess consort deeply loved their only son. They didn't want him to experience any grievances. Moreover, the young master had always been indulged and spoiled, so the entire mansion couldn't deny his requests. They couldn't just turn him down. Uncle Jiang pondered for a moment and suggested, the prefecture lord's mansion is not far from here, and the princess consort of the prefecture is currently taking the young master to the abbey for a stroll. Madam Shao, if it's convenient for you, please come to the abbey. That way, when the princess consort learns that you saved the young master, she can personally express her gratitude. Madam Shao, please weave a grasshopper for our young master. Upon hearing this, the young heir became elated, unwilling to let go of Qiao Xian. He exclaimed joyfully, Yes, sister, please come to my home. I have lots of snacks and fruits for you to enjoy. Confusion crossed Uncle Jiang's face as he turned to Qiao Xian for clarification. Qiao Xian helplessly explained, I have some dates with me for the young heir to eat. The young master was reciprocating her kindness by offering snacks and fruits. What a well-mannered child. Suddenly, Uncle Jiang understood the situation and smiled. His young master had a remarkable character, although he had never shown such attachment to anyone other than the prefecture lord and the princess consort of the prefecture. Indeed, the young master might be innocent, but he was not foolish. He might not discern those who were flattering him from those who treated him genuinely, but he could sense it. As servants, they were always infuriated. Those young masters might wear smiles on the surface, but inside they sneered at the young master. They were not worthy of doing so. Madame Shao proved to be a genuinely kind-hearted woman. The young heir added, the dates are so sweet. He seemed to be lost in reminiscence. Uncle Jiang laughed, assuming the young master was hungry and enjoyed everything he ate. He invited Qiao Xian to accompany them. Qiao Xian felt annoyed by Madame Su and the others. They might not have taken any direct action, but they were undoubtedly accomplices. In that case, there was no need for her to stand on ceremony. Thank you very much. Officer Jiang, please have someone inform the monks at the monastery to let Madame Su know that she doesn't have to wait for me. Okay. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:12. Confusion? Qiao Xian followed the young heir and Uncle Jiang to the mansion of the prefecture lord of Anping. The young heir was brimming with happiness, engaging Qiao Xian in discussions about feeding the fish, pastries and fruits. As someone experienced in interacting with children, Qiao Xian effortlessly entertained and conversed with the young heir. Uncle Jiang, initially concerned about her patience, breathed a sigh of relief and found himself growing fond of her. Meanwhile, at Fayun Temple, Madame Su and the others enjoyed a tea session before strolling through the garden to admire the chrysanthemums. They played for a while until someone realized that a ring seemed to have been misplaced in the garden. They assisted in searching for it, eventually discovering it in front of a cluster of golden chrysanthemums. Originally planning to venture into the back mountains for sightseeing, they decided against it due to fatigue. Instead, they returned to the courtyard and opted to rest before descending from the mountain. As they arrived at Shifeng restaurant for lunch, Someone inquired about Xiao Xian's whereabouts. A person complained, Madame Shao is so young, yet she seems to do as she pleases. Why hasn't she returned yet? We're all waiting here. Another person jokingly chimed in, maybe Madame Shao went for a sightseeing adventure in the back mountains. A Taoist added, that can't be true, right? What is she doing all alone? The first person smiled, saying half-jokingly, you never know with Madame Shao. She's quite audacious. Laughter filled the air. Indeed, she was bold. Madame Su's eyes gleamed with curiosity. She was about to send someone to fetch Qiao Xian when a young monk approached them, delivering a surprising message. Madame Shao, you don't have to wait for Madame Shao. She has gone to Lord Omping Manor to convey a message, please. What? Lord Omping Manor? What's happening? Madame Su's grip tightened on the handkerchief as she exclaimed, wasn't Madame Shao in the monastery's intermediate area? Why was she taken to Lord Omping Manor? What transpired? Madame Qiao, please remain calm, the monk gently urged, providing an explanation. Madame Shao was initially in the monastery's intermediate area, but Madame Qiao instructed her to wait at the back of the mountain. As she went there, she encountered the young heir of Lord Omping Manor, who had gotten lost. The young heir and she have a good relationship. When the people from the prefecture lord's mansion came looking for her, they asked her to visit the princess consort of the prefecture at the mansion. Worried that Madame Qiao would be concerned, she requested Lord Omping Manor to send someone to deliver the message. So that was the situation. However, what do you mean? We didn't go to the back mountain. Yeah, who informed Madame Shao about this? This is so strange. Everyone regained their senses and exchanged perplexed glances. A mixture of sourness and complexity filled the air. How fortunate for her to encounter the heir of Lord Omping Manor and visit the princess consort of the prefecture. A few astute individuals began to sense that something was amiss. They refrained from speaking out, but their glances at one another conveyed annoyance and speculation. Someone was attempting to set up Madame Shao. It was an outrageous scheme. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11-13, Princess Consort of the Perfecture Lord. Madame Su's grip tightened on the handkerchief as she contemplated various possibilities and made her own conjectures. The calm demeanor of the monk, as if he hadn't heard anything, further fueled her suspicions. With a bow and a polite gesture, he left the scene. The temple in the outskirts of the capital often received visits from high-ranking officials and nobility. Open and covert struggles were not uncommon, although the temple usually remained uninvolved. Well then, let's descend from the mountain, one of the ladies sneered. We worried for nothing. Instead, she stumbled upon great fortune and fled without facing us, as if she feared we would follow her. She even concocted such a ridiculous story, claiming that we went to the back mountain when we didn't and she had someone fetch her. Yes, she's simply making excuses for herself. Another lady chimed in, and the rest remained silent. Madame Su also smiled. Very well, let's go. All the ladies descended the mountain together. Some among them, driven by their desires for fame and fortune, started venting their frustrations towards Qiao Xian. Their anger grew more intense. Had it been someone from the prefecture lord's mansion delivering the message, they could have used the excuse of concern for Qiao Xian and the need to pay their respects to the princess consort of the prefecture, accompanying her to the mansion. However, it was the monks from the intermediate area of the monastery who conveyed the message. No matter how shameless they were, they couldn't simply barge into their residence like that. The prefecture lord's mansion wasn't a place they could casually visit. They would become a laughingstock if they were stopped at the doorstep. How could they not be angry at missing such a golden opportunity? But Qiao Xian remained unfazed. She wasn't worth cultivating a friendship with, in their eyes. At the mansion, Qiao Xian extended her greetings to the princess consort of the prefecture, who belonged to the Omping lord's lineage. The princess consort of the prefecture displayed grace and warmth, delighted to witness her precious son forming such a close bond with Qiao Xian. Despite being 14 years old, the young heir had the innocence and demeanor of a 4- or 5-year-old child. Gender was not a concern in their relationship. The princess consort harbored reservations about allowing her son to interact with others, fearing he might be mistreated. It seemed that both the young heir and Uncle Jianghu, who had known him since childhood, had never seen him develop such a close connection with anyone outside their family. Consequently, they treated Qiao Xian with even greater enthusiasm. The only regret was that Xiao Xian was a woman. It would have been more convenient if she were a man. Nevertheless, the young heir grew extremely attached to Xiao Xian, and he might even seek a close relationship with Primus Shao in the future. Xiao Xian crafted 2 grasshoppers for the young heir, a large one and a small one. Delighted, the young heir proudly presented them to the princess consort of the prefecture. He pointed at the big one and said with a smile, "This is mother," then pointed at the small one and said, "This is E." The princess consort of the prefecture burst into laughter, filled with joy. Even the princess consort of the prefecture began to show a gentler disposition toward Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian remained in the courtyard of Lord Omping Manor until 4 in the afternoon, when the princess consort of the prefecture finally managed to calm down the young heir. Only then did Xiao Xian take her leave. With a smile and a nod, Xiao Xian acknowledged the young heir's invitation to have fun together the following day. She had no reason to decline as she found solace in the pure-hearted young heir. He was far more agreeable than the troublesome ladies. As the princess consort of the prefecture owned orchards and vegetable gardens, she instructed her servants to gather 2 large baskets filled with fresh fruits such as apples, pears, evening peaches, persimmons, dates, walnuts, grapes, and more. Additionally, she arranged for 2 boxes of homemade snacks from the small kitchen to be packed for Xiao Xian to take home. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:14. Laughter and Tears. That was what Xiao Xian loved. She accepted it happily. The fruits she received were not as tasty as the ones she had grown in her own space, but they were still quite delicious and fresh. The princess consort of the prefecture lord had sent a low-profile wagon to take her back home, and the coachman was very friendly, even helping to carry down 2 baskets of fruits. Li Qiao and Li Xiao were surprised by the amount of fruits Xiao Xian received. "Madame Shao, you have bought so many fruits. They look so fresh." Xiao Xian smiled and told them, "They are gifts." The 2 girls teased that their madam must be very popular to receive so many fruits. Caught between laughter and tears, Xiao Xian couldn't believe they were serious. Was she really destined to have a good relationship with people? It seemed unlikely, especially now that the Tian family was gaining more power. She and Shao Yunduan would not become popular in reality. Soon Shao Yunduan returned and Xiao Xian shared her story with him. She didn't mention being set up as no one could deceive her in the mountains. Instead, she told him that she got separated from the madams and ended up saving the young heir of the prefecture lord of Amping's mansion. She also mentioned her visit to the princess consort of the prefecture lord. Curious, she asked Shao Yunduan, "Darling, do you know anything about Lord Omping Manor? What kind of family is it?" The capital was filled with numerous nobles, high-ranking officials, and noble families, making it challenging to keep track of everyone's background. Shao Yunduan, being part of the Hanlin Academy, had access to more information than she did. He was well informed and often heard about various gossips and stories. Shao Yunduan had heard rumors about the young heir of the prefecture lord's mansion being mentally damaged, so he decided to inquire further. Xiao Xian was taken aback by the revelation. "Oh, it's their family. I heard that the prefecture lord of Anping and the princess consort of the prefecture lord are both gentle people, and their youngest son is their only offspring. When he was young, he was exceptionally bright, capable of reciting sutras and hundreds of poems at the tender age of 3. The emperor adored him greatly. On one occasion, while accompanying the prefecture lord of Anping to the palace, the young heir playfully ate a plate of snacks intended for the emperor. Tragically, a eunuch beside the emperor sought to harm him and had secretly poisoned the pastry. Upon the revelation of this secret, the eunuch committed suicide, and numerous palace officials were implicated. Though the young heir's life was saved, his intelligence suffered irreversible damage, and he could no longer retain his previous brilliance. From that point onward, his mental capacity remained limited for the rest of his life. Xiao Xian sighed, feeling sympathy for the young man. He appeared so handsome and did not seem to be naturally lacking in intelligence. It was indeed an unfortunate turn of events. The princess consort of the prefecture lord and the prefecture lord of Anping must have been devastated when their clever son became mentally damaged overnight. However, the incident served as a shield for the emperor, and the couple did not dare to voice any grievances concerning the matter in court. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:15. Inside Story. They had nowhere to vent their anger, and they were not even qualified to investigate the matter personally. The palace remained a mystery to them, leaving them in the dark. What no one outside the family, including Yunduan, knew was that the young master was not poisoned by the eunuch's pastry, but by an elixir made by the emperor and the Taoist masters. As a consequence, all the Taoist masters and eunuchs involved in alchemy were beheaded by the furious emperor, and blood flowed like a river. And because of this, the emperor's reputation was ruined. He felt guilty towards his son and Lord Onping Manor, offering them abundant compensation, but he did not want to see them again. Every time he saw them he would think of this and he would feel very uncomfortable. The prefecture lord of Onping knew the truth of the accident and sensed the emperor's uncomfortable thoughts. Over the years he had gradually faded out of the royal family's sight. Apart from necessary occasions, he and his wife never went into the palace. They did not want to offend the emperor. They did not want to get involved with governmental affairs at all. And the young heir had never been to the palace after that. It was reasonable that he did not want to go to the palace. No one would dare to mention that. The emperor let out a sigh of relief and was very satisfied. Therefore they kept giving out great rewards. Apart from the crown prince, no other princes could match up to them. That was compensation for them. The prefecture lord and his wife were well aware of this. The funny thing was that even though he made some poisonous pills and the emperor dealt with the most trusted Taoist master, he was still engrossed in Tao seeking and elixir making. He believed that the new Taoist master would be able to make the pills. Only a few core members of the royal family knew about this, and outsiders knew nothing about it. Hearing Xiao Yunduan's words, Xiao Xian thought of this man who had lost his mind. He could never remember how smart he used to be. Even though he was smiling brightly and obediently, his eyes would never shine with wisdom anymore. He would always have the innocence of a child, which made him feel even more sympathetic towards the young heir. The prefecture lord and the princess consort of the prefecture lord felt tormented seeing their son like this every day. He is such a cute child. He even said that he wanted to have fun with me. Xiao Yunduan smiled. Darling, you are kind-hearted. The young master is not stupid, and it is not strange that he likes you. He is just a child and he can do whatever he wants. But you are my wife and it would be best not to get too close to him. Xiao Xian couldn't help but burst into laughter. She teased him. What are you talking about? You know that the young master is a child, so what are you talking about? Xiao Yunduan laughed. Xiao Xian had thought that the young master would not be here until a few days later, or maybe he had been distracted by something else and forgot about her. After all, children did not have a long memory. It was normal for them to be forgetful. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:16. Uncomfortable? Unexpectedly, the young master came the following morning. Apart from Uncle Jiang, Tuan, and a few guards, there was also a nanny and a maidservant. They got off the wagon and introduced themselves as Auntie Zhu and Xiao Shui. The young heir was delighted to see Xiao Xian. He greeted her with a smile and ran towards her, calling her sister. Auntie Zhu and the others greeted them and went into the yard. There were so many people that the patio was filled with more than 10 people. Auntie Zhu drove out the guards, except for Uncle Jiang and the small group, who offered the presents from the princess consort of the prefecture lord. She smiled. Our young master has been trying to find Madame Shao, and the princess consort of the prefecture lord can't stop him, so I drove him here, hoping that Madame Shao would not be disturbed. Xiao Xian thanked her and gave the gift to Wuxia, saying with a smile, Thank you, Auntie Zhu, but Lord Heir's son is so innocent and better than many people in the world. I'm so glad that he remembers me. Why would I be bothered? Auntie Zhu smiled brightly and nodded with a smile. That is great, Madame Shao. Just treat the young heir as you do to others, don't worry. Auntie Zhu could tell if they were sincere or fake. But her son was too pitiful to be played by others. Even if they looked down on him and laughed at him, as long as he was happy, they would pretend not to notice anything. They could not just put him in a group of 4 or 5-year-old children. That would be humiliating for him. But still they felt uncomfortable. Auntie Zhu could tell that Xiao Xian was not looking down on that boy. In her eyes, the little boy was normal, and that was more precious than anything else. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan's home was not very big, and the young master seemed to have never been to such a small yard before, so he was very curious. Xiao Xian was stuck in a dilemma. She did not know what to play with him. So after a while in the yard, she decided to make some delicious food for him so he could help. Children always like to help. The young heir seemed to have received some very important mission. He was so excited and kept nodding to show that he was going to help. He was so careful that people could not help but laugh. Qiao Xian got some cassava powder, steamed pumpkins and taros, cooked some red beans, prepared raisins, crushed walnuts and almonds, and asked Lixia and Liqiao to help too. Soon they started to get busy. Their kitchen was not very big, so Auntie Zhu asked Liqiao to take care of the young master when she saw Qiao Xian. After making sure that the young master would not get injured, she went into the hall with the others to take a break. The young master was a very playful child. The only requirement for the prince and the princess consort of the prefecture lord was that the young master should be happy. As long as he did not do anything against the law and morality, everything else should be treated nonchalantly and casually. They turned a blind eye. After a while the food was cooked and served while still warm. The round taro balls were very cute. They were filled with sweet glutinous rice and soft red beans, along with sweet raisins, crispy and delicious crushed walnuts, crushed almonds, and drizzled with honey, sprinkled with dried sweet osmanthus. The dish looked bright in color, had rich ingredients, and the sweet taste was very tempting. It was especially appetizing at a glance. Auntie Zhu had never seen it before, but it seemed to be a dessert. She thought that it might be some local snack from Qiao Xian's hometown, so she accepted it with a smile. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:17. More than anything? But the moment they tasted it, their eyes sparkled. Very delicious. It is sweet, glutinous, not greasy and chewy. What is it made of? It is so delicious. Tuan and Xiaoshui were both young men and women in their teens. They loved sweet food and the taro balls instantly fascinated them. Auntie Zhu and Uncle Jiang were not as straightforward as they were, but they seemed to agree. The cassavas were good things and Xiao Xian had the intention of promoting them. She was not afraid that they would be robbed of their business. The Qin family was so big, and as long as they had a good reputation, no one would be able to steal them away. So she repeated the story with a smile. They even said that they had a lot of cassava powder from their hometown. If they did not mind, they could bring some home to have a try. There were 3 chefs at Lord Omping Manor who specialized in making snacks for their masters. They were very good at making snacks, and they only thought about one thing every day, which was to create different kinds of exquisite snacks for their masters with various ingredients. Auntie Zhu and Xiaoshui were servants who served their masters closely, and they were even more noble and knowledgeable than the masters at home. They had eaten all kinds of delicious food and seen all kinds of luxurious things. But they had never seen or tasted the taste of taro balls. Qiao Xian had never heard of cassava powder before. She was going to give it to the 3 pastry chefs so they could think about how to incorporate it into more flavors for the mansion. Also, the young master seemed to like it very much. That was better than anything else. Auntie Zhu did not turn them down but accepted them with a smile. The young heir was eating the taro ball desserts he helped to make. He even put 2 bowls in the box, saying that he made them personally and wanted to bring them home for his father and mother to taste. That moved Auntie Zhu and Uncle Jiang. After eating the taro balls, the young heir was thinking about giving desserts to his father and mother, so they went home soon. He could not wait to serve the desserts to his mother. "Mother, I made this myself. Have a taste of it." "What?" The princess consort of the prefecture lord was startled. Auntie Zhu said with a smile, "The young master made desserts for the princess consort of the prefecture lord, and he brought them home for the princess consort of the prefecture lord to try. Our young master is the most filial." "For real?" The princess consort of the prefecture lord burst with joy and smiled. "He made it, it will definitely taste good." The young heir put a spoonful into the princess consort of the prefecture lord's mouth and asked eagerly, "Mother, is it tasty?" The princess consort of the prefecture lord felt sweetness in her heart. She nodded and smiled as she caressed the young master's head. You are so good, so delicious." The young heir was so happy. "Please, mother, I will make more for you." Okay, my son is so filial." The young heir smiled happily. After dessert, the mother and the son exchanged a few words. Xiaoshui and Tuan took the young master back to rest, while the princess consort of the prefecture lord asked Auntie Zhu how she was doing at the Shao family. Auntie Zhu smiled and told the whole story. Princess consort of the prefecture lord of Anping smiled. "I knew that Madame Shao is a good person. He likes going there, so let him be. You should treat them nicely and respect them. As long as he is happy, that is better than anything. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:18. Auntie Zhu smiled and added, "But Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord, will the Tian family and the fourth prince?" The Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord sneered. "Prefecture Lord and I are just like this. Haven't we made enough concessions? What else can he do? I just hope that he can live a happy life so he won't suffer any more while we are still alive. I don't care about anything else." The emperor said that they could have other children, but he also insisted that the title of Prefecture Lord must be given to Yi. Wasn't that enough? The emperor almost lost his life after being set up by the shameless Taoist. But when his own family learned about this humiliating thing, the emperor became even more afraid of his own family, despite feeling guilty towards Yi. He worried that his family would leak the secret and humiliate him. He wished that they could disappear as soon as possible. Only dead people could keep the secret. What if they had another child and told the child? He would not tolerate that. Also, she did not want to have any more children. Her Yi was so good and she was not going to give him any less love. He had nothing left and he could not live without the love of his parents. At that time she told herself that as long as he was happy, she would not care about anything else. He liked to hang out with Madame Shao and he could go to Madame Shao whenever he wanted to. The Tian family couldn't stand that, could they? Then they could come to her. They were afraid of the Tian family and the fourth prince, but the Prefecture Lord's mansion had never been afraid of them. That reminds me. Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord added. Get someone to keep an eye on the Tian family. They might not dare to come to our mansion, but they might try to bully Editor Shao and Madame Shao. We can't let them suffer because of this. Auntie Zhu sighed inwardly and nodded with a smile. The young master was still a child. The Shao family had a small yard, but he loved to hang out with Qiao Xian. Sometimes Shao Yunduan was present too, so the children were watched by two people. There was nothing fun to do in the yard, so the couple took the young master out for a walk. The young master was a nobleman, and the Prefecture Lord of Anping, the Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord, as well as Auntie Zhu, Uncle Jiang, and Tuan would not go to the market with him even if they went out with him. At most, they would show him around the lantern market on the Lantern Festival, and most of the time they went to the abbey. After all, there were all kinds of delicacies in the mansion and there were pleasure boats in the mansion. Clothes, treasures and toys. The embroidery maids and tailors who specialized in sewing and embroidery, as well as antiques for the young heir, were not interesting at all. The other rich young masters would only take him out for fun at banquets and gatherings. No one would ask him out for shopping. After all, it was not very suitable for the young heir to go shopping, watch rooster fights, or visit brothels. Therefore the young master did not go out much. Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian brought him out, which made him very happy. He loved the little clay figurines and a tumbler at the stall. He would always buy some small things and bring them home to show the Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord, who was very happy too. Xiao Xian asked Shao Yunduan to draw some lively and interesting animal drawings, which were drawn on thin wooden boards, painted, carefully cut by a craftsman, broken into uneven pieces of jigsaw puzzles, and then put together with the young master. They could not go out all the time, so jigsaw puzzles were the best way to kill time. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:19. The effect was unexpectedly good. The young heir fell in love with it as soon as he started to work on it. Soon he became engrossed and focused on the jigsaw. Every time a complete picture was put together, he would be so happy for half a day. Auntie Zhu and the others were very happy to see this. They felt that their young master was very smart. He could even find so many pieces and put them together. When the Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord of Anping heard about this, she felt glad seeing the puzzles. Who said that her son was stupid? If he was, he would not have been able to come up with such a difficult puzzle. Delighted, the Princess Consort of the Prefecture Lord asked some more people to make more exquisite jigsaws. She even made 2 sets of white jade with thinly polished gemstones to give to Qiao Xian. That was indeed very valuable. The puzzle gradually spread among the prefectures and was liked by countless children, becoming popular in the whole upper-class society. Later the news spread among the commoners, and many businessmen saw the business opportunity and started making them. The ingredients were easy to get, and the civilians did not care if the workmanship was rough as long as it was fun. The princess consort of the prefecture lord of Anping was even happier. Madame Shao was the first one to take her son to have fun, and everyone else was imitating her son. Xiao Xian had intended to make some money with this, but when she realized that it was already being copied, she dropped the idea. They had no place to talk about copyrights at that period of time. And the news that Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan got involved with Lord Anping Manor soon spread. Everyone sighed emotionally, they were so lucky. Madame Su, who had asked Xiao Xian to visit the Fayun temple the other day, felt annoyed. Those madams who had no idea what was going on were just there to keep the guests company. They felt jealous and emotional, but that was all after a few words. Madame Su and the others were there with a purpose. They took Xiao Xian to the back mountain of the temple, thinking that the mission would be completed smoothly, so Xiao Xian would have no way to defend herself. But it turned out that she was totally fine and even gained favor with the Lord Anping Manor by a freak combination of factors. Everyone knew that the young master of the prefecture lord had saved the emperor's life. The emperor believed that only the crown prince could hold a higher position in his heart. If the couple from the prefecture lord of Anping said a thing or two, the emperor would definitely agree. Forget about the emperor. When the new emperor took over the throne, he would have to support Lord Anping Manor and the young heir for the rest of his life. Otherwise he would be considered unfilial. This life-saving favor was even more valuable than a death exemption card. They could easily defend Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan. The Qiao family felt bitter too. Madame Lady Qiao and the others did not utter a sound. They felt that they had been slapped in the face. Even Madame Qiao, who had always thought that she was better than Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian, felt regretful. She already regretted when Xiao Xian cured the peony that the emperor had entrusted to his mother, and she couldn't help but wonder if she would have been able to use this favor if they had not broken off the relationship. If she begged the prefecture lord of Anping to put in a good word for the emperor, the Qiao family might have regained their title. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:20. Luck taken? After all, it was the emperor's call. Second Old Master and Old Master Qiao, who had been so happy and gloating when they broke off the relationship, now felt bored again. The couple could not help but complain about their fate. If they had not asked them to sign the contract, this would not have happened. First Madame Qiao and second Mrs. Qiao were both jealous of Xiao Xian's luck, so they blamed Xiao Hongxi. He is Xiao Xian's lineal brother and he doesn't even try to talk him out of it. What else can I say? Xiao Xian is part of the third section of the family, and the third section of the family has the right to speak with her. The other one couldn't help but say, that is so strange. How can Xiao Xian be so lucky? I think that is very suspicious. Xiao Xian must have used some underhanded, evil, sinister methods to steal the Qiao family's fortune, right? Why is she always getting all the good things but we are always so unlucky? Second Old Master's heart skipped a beat. He started to believe that. Hearing that elder brother was not doing well this time, he felt annoyed. He was in charge of the abbey, and the harvest this year was not very good. The third section of the family was even more unlucky. Hongxi was demoted, and the third section of the family was ostracized. The lineal daughter's marriage was ruined, and the concubine's daughter did something so shameless. What a coincidence. The two brothers had a tacit understanding of how to report the third section of the family. So they kept adding fuel to the fire in front of Madame Lady Qiao. Madame Lady Qiao, who had been feeling very uncomfortable, got even more furious hearing what she said. Madame Lady Qiao felt that her brothers were right. She ordered someone to fetch Third Old Master and his wife. They had not expected that if they insisted on driving Xiao Xian out of the family, Xiao Hongxi would not be able to change their mind, no matter how much he objected. But at this moment someone needed to bear the anger and grievances so they could prove that they did not personally push out the favor, so they did not care. Third Old Master and Third Madame Qiao were so confused and bewildered by the scolding. They did not understand what was going on until a long while later. Third Madame Qiao shivered in anger, gritting her teeth. This wretched old woman. They helped the first section of the family and the second section of the family get so much money from the third section of the family, and now they were blaming them for Xiao Xian? Did they regret driving that woman away? Third Madame Qiao felt secretly pleased. They were so unlucky. As for her own family, she was caught in a vicious cycle and had no idea what to do. Third Old Master felt aggrieved too. His son never disobeyed his elders and he could not be blamed. But Third Old Master started to suspect if Qiao Xian had stolen the Qiao family's fortune. That sounded very reasonable. Madam Lady Qiao said angrily, "Just think about it, is there anything wrong with Qiao Xian? You are her parents and you should know something, right? We need to find a way to get the Qiao family's luck back, otherwise she would be too lucky." Third Madam sneered and said nothing. Her son was an officer and her husband was an officer too. They were not that bad either, were they? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:21. Arrogant People? Weiss' marriage was going to take place after 1.5 years. She could just marry someone who was not as good as her own family, and she would not have to worry about not finding a suitor. They were all unscrupulous people, so why should she help them? Third Old Master thought for a while and said, "That girl has always been timid, but..." Third Old Master was startled too. Yes, the girl was timid before she got married, but after she got married she gradually changed. When her husband Shao Yunduan became an intermediate provincial champion, she became even more assertive and even talked back to him. Then, not to mention later on, how dare they follow Shao Yunduan into the capital and cut off all ties with the Qiao family without his permission? How dare they? Third Old Master narrated the story angrily, while Third Madam Qiao sneered. She is just pretending. She is just pretending to be weak and submissive. That was true, judging from the current situation. But Madam Lady Qiao and the others did not want to hear this. Madam Lady Qiao snapped at Third Madam Qiao. "Shut up if you don't know what to say. I think she must have taken away the Qiao family's fortune, otherwise Shao Yunduan would not have become the intermediate provincial champion, which should have been ours. Look at the daughters you are raising." Third Madam said coldly, "What do you think, mother? We are going to get our fortune back." Madam Lady Qiao got so annoyed that she said without hesitation. Then they all looked at each other and fell into silence. Second Mrs. Qiao lowered her head guiltily. She was just saying that out of anger. Actually, she did not believe that a concubine's daughter was capable enough to steal the Qiao family's things. According to the third section of the family, they were just pretending to be weak. Once they had the power they would show their fangs. Madam Lady Qiao did believe her, and she insisted on taking back the Qiao family's fortune. She even asked Old Master Qiao to seek Taoist masters so Qiao Xian could not take advantage of them. Old Master Qiao and the others had no choice but to agree. They would deal with it later. What a joke. Shao Yunduan and Qiao Xian were in the limelight right now, and the Emperor and Lord Omping Manor were defending them. No one would be able to bear the consequences of calling her a thief without any evidence. Everyone at the Qiao family was very disheartened by what happened. So was the Tian family. Is the Princess Consort of the Perfecture Lord out of her mind? What does her stupid son know? Miss Qiao must have tricked him. How dare she treat Miss Qiao as someone close to her? What a joke. Tian Shanshan threw an exasperated look at her angry mother and smiled. They are able to gain favor with the Princess Consort of the Perfecture Lord because they are capable. Mrs. Tian was startled. She turned to her daughter and sighed. "I just can't stand Miss Qiao. She is so cunning." Tian Shanshan said, "How can the benefits obtained through unorthodox methods last long? Mom, don't get angry over these small things. It is not worth it. Let's just wait and see. The Tian family can afford to wait. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." This cousin of the Tian family was so difficult to deal with. But she could not even throw away the hot potato in her hands. Qiao Xian was discussing with Shao Yunduan about going back to Shaoding village. Shao Yunduan had no choice but to make a plan for her. He hired 6 escorts from the most reputable escort agency for Qiao Xian in Tianjin, together with Wuxia and Qiao. After Qiao Xian left, they could not tell anyone that she was going home. If anyone asked, they could just say that she was staying at the nunnery and would not be back until a few days later. In a few days, a few more days, they would be back. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:23. Back home? That was just a precaution and no one would ask about it. At most, he would tell Auntie Zhu when the young master came to have fun. They decided to leave in mid-October with a few days left. When everything was ready, the two of them felt a bit reluctant to leave. They would be separated for at least 40 days. Actually, Yunduan wanted Xiao Xian to spend the new year at home and come back when the spring came. But Xiao Xian did not want to do that. She was going to spend the new year with her husband. She had already decided to hurry on the road, which would take at most 20 days. She was going to stay at home for 7 or 8 days, and she was going back to the capital by the end of November. The wagon was light and simple. As long as they had enough money, they could hire all kinds of good wagons and horses. They did not need to worry at all. Xiao Yunduan did not want to be apart from her for too long. He kept telling her to be careful on the way home, so he agreed to wait for her to come home for the new year. But he did not want to leave before she left. The two of them cherished the remaining time they spent with each other. They talked, laughed, and enjoyed each other's company, wishing that they could not waste a single moment. When the night came, they embraced each other, expressing their love and passion, knowing they would soon be separated. They held on to each other tightly, savoring every touch, kiss, and caress. When morning arrived, Xiao Xian slept for half a day. Li Xiao and Li Qiao blushed and did not dare to say a thing, pretending as if they knew nothing. Xiao Xian too was pretending. She did not want to make up for the lack of temperance. It was too conspicuous. But she felt sore all over when she woke up in the morning, especially at her waist. She could not even hook it with her fingers. She just needed to lie down and take a good hot bath to feel comfortable. Every time the two girls pretended to know nothing, Xiao Xian swore inwardly that she was not going to do that tonight. But when it was night time and they were going to be separated soon, they forgot about everything else. Then she gave up the idea. Her husband was the most important and she should focus on the other aspects. Xiao Yunduan did not see her off on the day of departure. He put on the cloak for her, kissed her face and lips, took her hands and said gently, "Pay attention to the clothes on the way, don't catch a cold. Don't be in a hurry, just watch out for the situation. If you really can't make it home, don't force yourself." Xiao Xian felt her heart warmed. She turned to Xiao Yunduan and said with a smile, "Don't worry, darling, we are so lucky to be able to see the light of day. We will have a smooth journey." At least they did not have to worry about safety. She would love to see someone picking on her. Xiao Yunduan was amused, but he let out a sigh of relief. "Okay, my wife is so lucky, everything will go well." The two of them exchanged a look and exchanged a few more words before parting ways. Xiao Xian drove out of the town and headed directly to Tianjin. Songsher went to Tianjin the day before and arranged everything in advance. When Xiao Xian and her two maids arrived, they changed the wagon and started to travel. It was still October and the weather was slightly cooler, but it was not yet cold. If the weather was good and the sun was strong, it would still be hot at noon. But overall, the weather was very suitable for traveling. Xiao Xian did not want to waste any more time, so the trip went smoothly. But one day, Xiao Xian sensed that it was going to rain, so she spent half a day on the road and decided to stay at an inn in the town after lunch, citing fatigue as the reason. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. The main cause was that she felt relaxed and happy when she was back, and she was thinking about her flowers, plants and various fruit trees. When she woke up, the family had already done what they needed to do, and they had already eaten breakfast, so they saved one portion for her. They ate porridge and steamed buns this morning. The steamed buns had 3 fillings, namely smoked meat diced with fried plums, fresh mushrooms and shrimps, chives, egg and tofu diced. The smoked meat and plums were also added with chili, which tasted delicious and spicy, especially energetic. Xiao Xian was very satisfied by the taste. She drank half bowl of porridge and ate 2 smoked meat buns as well. Miss Fong smiled. "Your third brother has gone into the town to buy meat, and I asked him to buy some pork and mutton for stewing at night. It would taste so good." Xiao Xian nodded and thanked her with a smile. "Thanks, Mom, I know you treat me the best." I can stew them with fresh mushrooms and bamboo shoots. Just thinking about it makes me drool. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 11:28. Many people? Due to the significant expansion of the flower field this year and the hiring of many villagers to assist, the secret of the flower field could no longer be kept hidden for much longer. After the discussion, Cao Cao and the others didn't find it too troublesome. They carefully stored away the lipstick-making tools, took them home that day and brought them back the following day. This way they ensured the tools wouldn't be easily stolen. The villagers were quite curious about the floral field, considering the number of people being hired to help. While they couldn't fathom how the first section of the Shao family had earned so much money, they knew that planting these flowers was undoubtedly a lucrative venture. People inquired about it, some even asking outrightly. However, no one dared to act against the Shao family's standing in the village. The land officer made it clear that any attempt to harm the first section of the Shao family would be thoroughly investigated, and the perpetrator would be expelled from Shaoding village. Moreover, apart from the floral fields, the first section of the Shao family was involved in cultivating cassavas and managing the tea fields of the Jianghu family. They hired villagers to assist them and paid them well. Additionally, there were various odd jobs available, offering a great way for the villagers to supplement their income. The villagers understood that ruining this arrangement was out of the question, and they respected and cherished the opportunities provided by the Shao family. Moreover, Miss Fong was not one to be underestimated. With the strength and unity of Shao Sanlang, Shao Dalong, and the sisters-in-law, anyone contemplating doing something harmful wouldn't dare to make a move. Cao Cao took great care of the floral field and proudly showed it to Qiao Xian with a smile. Qiao Xian observed the flowers and infused them with a touch of her superpower, ensuring they grew stronger and more vibrant, storing energy to thrive even more vigorously. While she was home for a few days, she knew she could attend to the flowers again in a few days' time. The floral fields held significant importance to her, and she realized that relying solely on Chunyu and the other servants might not be sufficient. She decided to hire additional trustworthy servants as a precautionary measure. Having a backup plan was essential in case of any unforeseen events. She intended to discuss this with Ms. Fong and seek First Madam and Yuejing Xiao's assistance in selecting reliable families when they went to the province. Qiao Xian remained relatively unconcerned. With her mother-in-law's presence and the contract in hand, she didn't worry too much about tricky buyers. However, the situation at home was becoming less convenient due to the lack of extra living space. Observing the floral field, she decided to build a few houses nearby, enough to accommodate 10 or 20 people. This would make it much easier for Cao Cao and Shao Sanlang in the future. As the scale of beekeeping would continue to expand the following year, they would need numerous beeswax for the production of lipsticks. It was crucial to handle beekeeping within their family rather than entrusting it to others. If Jianghu village couldn't accommodate them anymore, they would consider doing the same thing elsewhere. Furthermore, they could involve the villagers in flower planting as well, allowing them to sell the flowers themselves to avoid any potential losses. Qiao Xian also planned to teach the villagers how to cultivate shiitake mushrooms, wooden ears, tea tree mushrooms and snow fungus. These products could be made into dry goods, and she could seek help from the Yuejing family. If the Yuejing family wasn't interested in purchasing these goods, they could connect with other businessmen willing to buy them. The ultimate goal was to ensure that when they enjoyed the profits, the villagers could also benefit by having a share of the rewards. This way the entire village as well as their family would prosper together, creating a mutually beneficial situation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Phantom Sword Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.